What's up, guys? It is Modern Craftsman Monday.
I'm John. Monday.
John joins us for most of the podcast today and dips out at the end for, of course, hockey practice. But we got Chase from Matthew Chase Woodworking on the podcast this week.
Yeah,
is that right?
I thought that his name was Matthew for a really long time, and I
feel like he must get that all the time.
Yeah, I feel like I still need to think about it, and I've known him for like 4 years now.
Well, yeah, Matthew Chase Woodworks. I'm making sure I said that right. But we have Chase, and we chat about California and the issues that they're dealing with the fires out there. But what was really insightful is the way he appreciates and handles the people within his company and the standards and the expectations that they set to make sure that he's upholding nothing but the best.
I also, a lot of times there's a negative connotation with turnover within a company, and he was not proud of their turnover. But
he was honest.
Yeah, and he looks at it as creating the best environment for everyone by kind of getting the people out as soon as possible who are not a good fit, helping those people move along in their lives, and then also creating a better work environment for whoever is working for them.
Yeah, give it a listen.
It was nice to hear.
This podcast is brought to you by Duration Moulding and Millwork. Duration manufactures 100% of their product from Boral True Exterior Trim. True Exterior is a brand name given to Boral's polyash material, a blend of polymers and 70% fly ash, a waste byproduct from coal production. The result is a remarkable building product. Think of it as having all the best attributes of wood, PVC, fiber cement, and engineered wood products, but without any of the downsides of those products. Now you have access to a product that installs easily, remains stable, is unaffected by moisture and temperature, and is indistinguishable from real wood. To learn more about Duration Polyash products, please visit their all-new website at durationmillwork.com.
Am I addicted to work?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like, I think straight up, like, is it an addiction? Because, like, I can hire more people to delegate more stuff. I'm still going to be that psycho. So is it, like, do I need to have a 12-step program for me to separate myself from work more?
Just diving right into this one. God, so I had, like, an almost spiritual mental breakdown when I saw a tweet 6 months ago, maybe more, about defining your self-worth through your work. You know, because we've just grinded for so long, did so many 16-hour days and blah blah blah, and like, to me, part of that was like almost a bragging point, right? You know, and it was like such a revelation, and like almost like a really depressing revelation. Like, that's not where your self-worth comes from. Like, that doesn't make you a better person, you know? And yeah, no, I've had to come to terms with the addiction to work for sure.
Cause like, I was talking this with one of my guys, like, we have a guy that Benny's like, oh, he comes in on the weekends. And I'm like, I can recognize that with other people, meaning that's just being busy. But when it comes to me, I'm always like today I was like, I'm going to get to the job site. I'm going to sit down, bang out some paperwork, put my headphones in. I got to the job site, and I was so antsy about seeing all the stuff that got done that I was like, I literally had my backpack over my shoulder for an hour and a half. By the time I was done, it was time for me to go home. And I was like, you didn't get anything done, dude. And it was productive, but it was like checking in the framers. You know, the guys doing
It wasn't
blasting.
what you set out to do.
As from the business end of it.
Right.
You know, like, this is boom, 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 how my day's set up. But once I got there, it was that love of construction that I was a little kid again. Like, let me get in the dirt. Let me get in the weeds. Let me see what's going on.
That's why I have the office. That's, John, you've asked that before. It's like, I want to be on site and get it, you know, and have my bag over my shoulder and just in the weeds of it all day. But I know I don't get anything done from the business side of it. And that's why I separate, you know, I couldn't set up a table and work on the job site and put my headphones in.
I want to be the guy that's like, well, I'm older, more disciplined, but it's not the case. Like, it's just not the case.
Chase? What was when you read that? What?
It didn't even open. Is your mic
It's
on?
a really fast open for some reason.
Am I frozen?
I feel like all it did was like blasted the top through.
Tyler tried to open his drink like I do, where it sounds like it's cracking a beer, because people have commented, you guys just cracking beers, talking shop.
So Waterloo sparkling water.
I have a coffee.
At
Bucha.
6:30 at night?
There we go. Bucha.
Yeah, this
It's only
I got
3:15 there.
I got work to do.
But he's drinking bucha. Nick's doing coffee at night.
Yeah,
I
I'm planning to get work done after this, which
See, you'll find yourself in the shop kicking around sawdust and organizing
texting Ken
stuff.
being like,
Right?
"Hey, is that right?"
That's what I'm the more I keep thinking about it, I'm like, I do have an addictive mentality. Like when it came to like hockey, it was like I'm all in. And then when it came to like working out and that stuff, I was all in. But now I'm like,
I think it's
I'm
just
worried that it
personality.
won't change. No, but
Yeah,
how do you change? How do you change?
My
it?
wife makes fun of me. Like, I'll get super into one thing and just like buy all the stuff that goes along with it and watch all the YouTube videos and do it for like 6 months and be like, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, it's like when I was cycling. It's like someone's like, "Hey, let's go cycling." I'm like, I'm not jumping on that bandwagon again. I can't get my bike tuned up. I can't get all that gear again, all the nutrition stuff for it. I'm like, I'm not doing it. That's why I like running. Put some shorts on and sneakers, and I can't.
It's cheap.
Yeah, I can't. There's nothing I'm gonna dive into.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, but now it's like work. And Nick, was what we talked about the other day was, is it that chase? Like we talked about, I didn't get a job that I really wanted the other day. And it wasn't that it was promised to me. It wasn't like that. It was more of, it's buying that scratch ticket and not scratching it yet going, I could win. It says
Right.
2 million. What would I do with 2 million?
Right.
And it's, then you scratch it. And as you scratch, you slowly fall into a depression. And it's like, same with when you get that phone call, you're like, oh, I knew it. Like when I didn't get the call a week after the bids were in, I'm like, they're talking to somebody because their deadline to knock the house down was November. So, and he called me. I'm like, oh, Big Dog's calling me. What's up? I'm assuming they're talking to somebody, and that's not me. And he's like, yeah, went a different direction. And I texted these guys. But I wanted to go home. Like,
Of
I'm
course.
all energy all the time, but I was just like, dude, I just want to go home, curl up in my bed and be like, just take the rest of the day off. So
That was not my response.
you've had the same response for like every text for like the last 3 days.
Yeah, pretty much. It's might be an emoji of a middle finger sticking up or 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 or 4, yeah.
Chase, that background is legit.
Dude, we have a nice office, man. It's good.
Doesn't it
It's
look
good.
like Mike
it's
from
such a mess.
ECS's
I couldn't
dining room?
just show you.
You
how
look
bad it
almost
is.
like you're superimposed.
See,
Oh.
what's up? It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I need to do this to mine. How'd you do this?
You can just download a JPEG.
Nick, you're breaking up like cray. He's frozen.
He's just frozen smiling now.
Creepy smile.
His Wi-Fi is pretty bad.
Doug, are you still on the Wi-Fi?
Everywhere he goes, he upgrades it.
You see,
Okay.
I don't know why NS Builders
Look,
doesn't just have their own network.
He's
at this
talking to
point.
his IT guy right now. Yo, hey, the network's down.
It's weird. I'm still
That was perfect. I got my
Yeah, you're looking better on the video, Nick.
online.
This is
This is like-
captivating radio, guys.
This is like Patterson. How many followers do I have? I have a lot. This
Yeah.
is Nick.
We're pretty many.
How many Wi-Fi do we have? Give me the second network. Where's my Nick network?
It was connected.
What did I miss when you guys hopped on?
Nothing.
I was
Literally.
no
No
just
talking.
freaking out. I said I think I'm addicted to work. Like vacation gives you enough time away that you're like.
I feel like I'm addicted to whatever I'm doing at the moment. It's like it doesn't matter what it is. I'm gas on or gas off.
Dude.
I could see that.
Yeah.
But John, you said a minute ago, it's like, how do you change?
How is he doing that? Is it magic?
Yeah, how is
What?
he?
You were just pointing while you were talking. There's a wicked
Lips
delay.
not moving.
Oh my god, what's going
He's
on?
in the
Here?
ventriloquism now.
Are you back now? I think you're back.
There's literally no one here. It's just me on the Wi-Fi. It's not
There you
working.
go. It sounds
Hey.
better.
No, I feel like you're freezing some.
Yeah, still a lag.
All right, hold on.
Shut all your apps.
You know what I did is I installed an Ethernet cable from the front of my house to the back of my house because I have this dead zone. I told you guys that, right? I have like the highest internet known to man. I just kept telling Rachel to up the internet, and we're paying like $60 extra a month for the fastest internet ever. And it's just that my office has no Wi-Fi. I can open the door and walk 10 feet, and I have like 6 times the amount of Wi-Fi than you would ever need. I was just like, nope, keep jacking it up. Like, we need faster
More
internet.
juice.
But you know what's
Yeah.
crazy? Like, explain it to me. Like, we just did that. I switched over to streaming, and I was like, yeah. So I have Verizon, so I'm gonna get rid of the cable. I'm like, what do I need to do? I want to upgrade my bandwidth, whatever. They're like, nothing. I'm like, so how do I know you're doing anything?
Yeah.
Like, explain to me. Like, you just upgraded 6 times. It's like, do I get another box? Like, can you just bring a new wire? How about just the fittings?
Yeah, like, don't you need like a bigger wire for more internet now?
But how about they just don't even care to even sell us on that? Like, if it was someone else, they'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to put these fittings in. It's nothing. They at least tell the story. These guys, Verizon's just like, no, we did it. We pushed a button. And I'm
They
like,
probably move it up for like 2 days and then just bump it back down.
Well, I feel like it's like with cell phones, right? I get the text once a month where it's like, you've reached 16.5 gigabytes. We're going to dial your speed back if you reach 20. It's like, why?
it's like, game on. Is this a dare?
Yeah, right. But it's like, what? Like, you can just dial my speed back, so why aren't you dialing my speed up?
Like,
I've never received that text
Me
message.
neither.
I got that and I flipped out.
Really?
I was like,
Oh,
dude, I
every
have
month.
7 lines. Explain to me why. Just take something from somebody else.
Right.
Like,
Benny's
I
not on
own-
Instagram. Give me his Instagram
I own
time.
6 other lines. Just
Chase, you probably every time I try and text Chase, I get this automatic reply that he's driving.
Yeah, drive all the time, man. Yeah, I don't. I try not to use my phone when I drive. I know it's kind of annoying to have that text because, like, when a contractor texts me or whatever, just to have an automatic response, and there's 2 of them back to back. It's like, hey, I'm driving right now. If it's urgent, plus urgent. Yeah.
I actually was gonna text. I don't know how that works, but I was going to text you a response to that was not urgent. But I was like, what if it beeps his phone or something and it doesn't just throw my text through? I don't want to scare him.
It'd be pretty funny.
I don't know what happens. What happens?
No one's ever done it. I don't know.
No one's ever done it.
No one's ever urgented me.
Oh, we should try and do it now.
Yeah, I mean, now we just have to.
you know what? Go for a drive. No, I always think whenever I get that text, I'm like, oh, they're so much more responsible than me. Because
I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just like not drinking and driving to me. Like, I'm on the road with your family, and like, just as a service to them, I'm not going to use my phone because I respect you and your family.
But Chase, you understand that most people don't. They're not thinking of it from that side of it. So like you're
I do understand that.
Yeah. No, and that's, I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm terrible with my phone, but I definitely use my phone when I drive, and I definitely every day I think about it. It's like I got to stop. And I put my phone down, silent, face down, and it's
Who's been in an accident on their phone or a device? Yeah, so that's probably why I have it and you don't. First time you get in an accident, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to stop.
You should put it on the kid who used to work for me's phone.
brand new
fired.
van. It's well deserved though. Who gets a new van and then cracks it up?
So when I was out in San Francisco, every time we got into Chase's car, U2 came on.
So
for some reason.
Tyler's
when they,
phone
like,
was just
gave you-
constantly at 1%, so he constantly needed to charge it. So we plug his phone in. Every single time U2 would start playing, and I'm like, dude, do you really like them, or what's going on, man?
I'm pretty sure that was your phone. Remember when U2 gave you like the free download?
yeah, and you kept them.
So, I don't know.
Tyler's like,
it
I
would,
don't know how to
come up-
delete them.
So somehow every time if my wife's phone doesn't hook up into her car, the Adele album comes on. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
usually
my
it's
phone, too.
alphabetical. So, which makes me think like maybe it's not just it was a on your phone thing because it would start with A and yours went straight to you. I don't know. I think
Maybe it was reverse.
I think he just dig you too, man.
I think.
Chase,
I like Bono. What's his name? Bono?
You know,
Bono?
That's
Bono, I think.
I don't know.
Even if I knew the right answer, I wasn't going to admit it.
No,
Just for the
you're not a YouTube guy.
My wife's got it.
I mean, you made a Lady Gaga reference like 10 minutes ago.
Dude, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Gaga. That movie was awesome. Made me cry in parts.
I should.
You should. It's. I'm one of those rom-com guys. Rom-com. That's my jam.
Rom-com.
Yeah.
What is
Romantic
rom-com?
comedy.
Oh, romantic.
What
I've
comedy
never,
do you
like,
want?
I've never
you like,
heard
like
that
Hugh,
term.
Hugh Grant.
I'm not a fan of Hugh Grant, but like,
I feel like he's the ultimate rom-com ever.
really?
Do you go to rom-con con?
No. But going back to the whole texting, I actually put the texting thing on my phone, and then it was even worse because people would text me while I'm driving. They'd get the alert, then they'd get my response.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what am I doing this for?
Right.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
I actually like it was a choice on the new phone to set it up or not, and I did it, and I don't know how to undo it, so it's just gonna stay there. I don't know. What am I gonna do? Google how to change it?
Yeah. Did you
While
what,
driving?
You had them set it up?
No. It was an option on the new phone. Like, do you want to choose this? You know, when
Oh,
you're setting
right,
up your
right.
Apple
Yeah.
Pay and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I got you.
That's why I got it on mine. I was like, I'll do this. I'll rock this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
3 hours in, it just.
Yeah, you're just ignoring it and texting right back. I use voice to text a lot though.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it accurate?
Yeah.
No.
For me
Mine
it is,
is
but
not.
but what I found is that when I leave a voicemail, like, hey, it's Nick. Period. Just give me a call back. I got a question regarding something. Period. And like I'll say the punctuation in a voicemail, and I'll hang up. I'm like, son of a bitch, because you have to say it when you voice the text.
Such a
I'm
douche.
like,
That person's like, really?
I know.
Period. Okay.
Now I catch it and I just delete it and I text him like, hey, give me a call.
He's got someone writing his emails for him. He's just doing dictation all the time.
Yeah, right.
When we first started the podcast and we would ask everyone who their favorite account was, wasn't it Chase's account that everyone said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't post anything.
Yeah, he went quiet.
We can't, man. Like most of our jobs are NDA. Like we can't post anything
Humble
from
brag.
most jobs that are. Come on. from most jobs that are like worth showing off, and it like until they, get photographed and published, then we can. But so we'll show shop stuff on stories. And
So
then
instead, it's just you
actual
buying more
photos.
equipment.
Right.
Like every story I see
Always
is like,
yeah, it's
here's
like
an 18-wheeler pulling up with like
Or
30
bugs.
grand worth of gear. Or more.
Come on.
30,
300.
We
300.
we try to make the job fun. Job's fun with good tools. That's true.
But
I used to take the excuses away. Give people great projects and the right tools.
Yeah.
right.
There goes excuses.
That's true.
Regarding the NDA, because I find these interesting, and I feel like anytime I've been approached with something like this, I always negotiate something out of it. Where it's like, all right, can I take up close photos or in progress photos or things like that? Are they that solid where it's like no photography, or are you just saying it's safer if I just ignore, like let them control it?
Clients won't approach us directly, so most of our NDAs are through contractor or designer, and at that point, like, they have so many other options of people they can choose. Like, we just want to be able to work on that project. It's a fun project. It's a fun build or whatever. So we're just going to go for the project and not care if we get credit for it, not care if we can't show anyone. So yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like, especially woodworking, it's always about, like, I think of Ken, right? It's always walking through the process of something, and which is why, you used to do that a lot. And that's what I think a lot of people liked about it. And it's like the fact that you don't get to walk through the process. That's the side of it. It's like, all right, you're not showing the project, but you are showing the process on how to miter fold.
I'll still do shop stories, but I'm just rarely in the shop anymore. Like when we started, I was literally making everything or half of everything or a third of everything that we did, and now I'm just like managing a business. So it has transitioned a bit. I should just give somebody else our password and let them do it all.
Well, Chase, for those that don't know who you are, what about a little introduction of who you are and what where your company started?
Yeah. So Matthew is my business partner. He and I started this 5 years ago. About we're in Petaluma, California, like 30 miles north of San Francisco, and we do cabinets and furniture mostly. We started just me and him, two of us in just a tiny little space, not a big budget. His wife was nice enough to invest in us. She got an inheritance and gave us a big chunk of that to get started. We worked together at a shop in town for like 10 years, and we're both like ready to leave at the same time, and like, oh, we're not going to find a shop that hires us both, so like, let's just give this a whirl and see if it works out. And just worked our asses off to kind of make it work out. We keep accumulating more space and more people to be on the team with us, and still kicking. Yeah.
How many people
You
now?
got somebody else's wife to invest in you. That's amazing.
I mean, she was investing in herself, Tyler, because she gets the the benefits of. Super fortunate. We did side projects at our old job for like years to try to save money to do this, because neither of us like come from money. It was accumulation of her and us doing weekends, but yeah.
How big is the team now?
There are 10 of us now. Me, Matt, and 8 others.
Is Matt in the shop or is he in the office?
Matt's full-time install, so somebody that owns the company is at the job site every day, cool. Running the crew, helping out there. I'm office and shop, and there are 5 of us in the shop, and 6 of us in the shop and 4 on install, and that kind of flips-flops back and forth depending on where we need the manpower.
Sure.
Yeah.
Chase, what was that value when you guys were kicking around starting up the shop?
You'd laugh.
What was the value that you started? Because I know I wrote down my own value when I was going to start Vintage, and then we took like 50 grand. I was like,
You'd laugh.
To be comfortable. How much?
We thought we could start a cabinet shop, and the shop that we came from was really, really well equipped, and we were used to doing stuff with everything, with all the tools. So we thought we could start something with I think we started with like 40,000, and in hindsight, like if one thing had went wrong, 1 month had went wrong, like we were done. Let's deliver pizza. We're done. But we just made everything, like the timing of everything just worked out perfectly. Like before we had power ran, like we just got jobs that we could sub out the doors and like have our doors come in, send them to the finisher, and then go to site and install them. Like the timing just was perfect for us to be where we are. Everything just worked out really, really well. Super lucky. Like that's all there is to it. It is luck.
So you started your business without having power?
Yeah, man. Like before you have a shop, like you walk into another wood shop and you're like, oh, okay, so you put the panel saw over there because that's where the outlet was for the panel saw. You don't even realize like, oh, you have to do all that. You have to like put it where you want it. It never crossed my mind. So we just got this building and like, oh, I guess there's a lot more to do before we could do anything now. So we're just like gluing stuff up on the floor while trying to run power. Like, yeah, we didn't have the money to hire an electrician. CJ didn't know me. Couldn't make him do it. Yeah.
I can't believe that you only started 5 years ago.
Right.
I know. It's crazy.
But do you really attribute it to luck? Because I feel like, you
Absolutely.
you say that you started with 40,000, and if you had a bad month, you would have gave up and delivered pizzas. Do you really think that you would have given that up based on that? Or, I mean, I feel like if you're going into something knowing that, like, hey, this is going to be hard, we're going to bust our ass. Mm-hmm. If you had a bad month, at least I speak for myself when I say if I had a bad month and I lost all that money, it would have made me work harder and make it back, 2 times.
Yeah. We just don't have a safety net. Like if we If we lose everything, like we don't have anyone to ask besides a bank for more money. So yeah, that's kind of what I meant there. But yeah, I do think a lot of our success is luck. I like the shop that we came from tried to get in with the contractors that we're working with now for 25 years and never got one job.
Wow.
We got a job. Like we got our foot in the door. And that first job, I think, is luck. We got the second job. You know, we came through on time. We built it on time. We built it right. We got the second job, but I absolutely think that luck got us the first job. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's interesting.
How so?
I mean, just that we were able to get, you know, a call to
How
have
did
them
you
call
get
us.
that first job?
Next door neighbor, a guy that lived near me, worked for one of the big companies that gives us a lot of work. And, you know, every day I would just bug him, like, check out this new tool thing that I got, or check out our new business card. Like, we're doing a thing. And he was like, cool, man. See ya. He was pretty annoyed. But years later, you know, that was probably 3 years went by, and they needed one cabinet turned around in a week. A TV cabinet for this super nice house. And I was like, absolutely, we're there. So the very next day they'd have to set tile. This cabinet, it's Friday. It has to go in next Friday. Monday, it was probably Saturday. They needed MDF templates of the whole cabinet in place, tied to the wall, so they could do all their tile. So we, you know, we're there with MDF. We install this thing that's not made yet out of MDF. Come back, take it down. I'm in the shop from 7 to midnight every single day that week, getting this thing done on time. Find a finisher who can get it finished, put it in. Yeah, absolutely. We got the second job. Our work got that second job. Luck, like, just, he lived next to me. He called us because they have a Rolodex of cabinet makers, like, dying to work for them. You know, my old boss tried for 25 years to get in with them. It was luck for sure.
Yeah, being in the right place at the right time, it sounds like.
Sure.
Do you know, going back to some of the earlier stuff, was it, you know, for a job that's 7 days, was the quality still what it is today? Yeah,
no, I mean, it's funny, like some of the guys, when they're new to the shop, will, you know, I'll be like, okay, so timeline's tight on this. We have to get this done by XYZ, and I'll come out to look at it, and like the sanding's just not quite there, or the you know, one of the elements just isn't quite there, and I'm like, oh no, this has to be. I thought we didn't have time. We always have the time to make it right. Like, our product's never going to be an inferior product just because we don't have time. It just means we need to work more
efficiently or whatever. Yeah,
not methodically, but like more intentionally. You know, we have to focus more. And, you know, stay after if we need to stay after. And usually, you know, Matt and I are the ones that stay after if we have to stay after. But yeah, no, we don't really have a B level product, and we never have. There are processes we can do now that we weren't able to do before we had the machinery setup that we do now. But we've never really been okay with offering something that isn't the best that we can do, you know.
Why
do you like pencil marks on cabinetry that's already finished and completed?
Tyler and I went to
reference marks.
Tyler and I went to this really fancy showroom when he was here, and you know, if I feel like if I say the $1 Million Kitchen guy, people are going to know who that is. But we went to a design showroom, and the whole time Tyler's like, "Hey, check out this pencil mark," from the guy who installed it, was like cutting miters on the crown and stuff.
Or like referencing something on the face frame.
Yeah, not a fan of pencil marks, man. Gotta say.
Yeah, you gotta sand them off.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? We've had guests on this podcast, and maybe we kind of know them through social media and through their accounts, but I think all of us have met you in person and walked your projects, and it's like,
Nick.
Yeah, I have not.
Oh,
yeah, Nick came to town and he was like, "Hey, I'm free from 5:45 to 5:47. Want to drive down for 2 hours to come hang out?"
yeah. Have my people call your people.
Thanks, bub. Thanks.
Listen.
But you are genuinely just a phenomenal dude to start off. But then beyond that, you back your shit up. Like I walked your sites and it's like, there's a lot of different people that are there and it's a really high end site. And it's like, you definitely hold your own on those job sites. And then like, I remember one of my biggest takeaways was, okay, 2 takeaways. One was you took me around everywhere when I was out there. And I was like, to this day, I'm like, could I ever do that for anybody? If someone came to Boston, could I do what Chase did? And I'm like, I don't know. I need to get to a point where I can do that. You know?
Yo, serious question. Did you two come on in his car?
I don't know.
Trying to get to the bottom of this.
Callback. Yeah.
No, but like then on top of that, like I remember the one phone call you took on in your car. It was with Matthew, and it was like I just loved how you guys got along. Like people say they have partners, and like Benny's like my right hand man. And he's awesome, but like hearing you guys have a normal conversation over speakerphone, I was like, dude, you guys are as cool and dynamic and chill at the same time as a group. It was cool to hear.
That's super sweet. Thank you. But I feel so incredibly fortunate to have Matt. Like I was kind of in a partnership. So I went to college in Missouri after college, didn't want to go to college what I went to college for. Didn't want to do what I went to college for. Sorry. And started like trying to build furniture, trying to learn. And I worked with a guy who was apparently like the best and knew everything.
Apparently.
It was not a good fit. he was just maybe not. It let me know how bad partnerships could be. So now I'm just so forever grateful that like we're able to make this work. And there's not like, I mean, it's literally like the dream setup. He's just the best dude to do this with. He really is. He cares exponentially about all the stuff that we do. He knows its importance. He knows what this means to us, all the people that work here, all the people that work here's family, to the livelihoods that are involved in this, and what that means for each decision that we have to make, each project that we do. So super, super fortunate to have him, for sure.
He's older than us, right?
Yeah, he's about to turn 50, I think. I think he's 49 right now.
And he had worked for that company for how long?
I think he was at that shop for like 11 years, maybe 12, and I was there for 10. Yeah.
And what was he installing?
No, so that shop was set up where you would get a set of plans, you would make the project from start to finish, and then you would go install it. So, everyone was shop and everyone was install. So you really got to learn the whole, cabinetry process.
And you guys don't do that. I know that he fills in the shop some, but typically you have shop guys and installers. We
started that way where we would make it and then everyone go install it, but then the shop was just sitting empty for.
That's what my mind's going to. I'm like
how
does that work?
We can't lose that much overhead that we're paying, so we shifted to make it more financially responsible.
And that works out fine. A lot of your jobs are fairly complex. How are you bridging, and getting a kind of alleviating the potential pitfalls of having somebody install something that they didn't make and they're kind of just walking into?
Yes.
Or are they involved from the get-go?
Matt starts and ends his day at the shop. They'll meet here at 6 and then go to the job site and then come back here at like 5. And, they'll walk through the shop and see everything that's being built. But Matt and I will sit down and go over plans before install starts. Like, here's what we did that's kind of weird in the shop, and here's the site condition, and here's some pictures, and here's how to make this successful. And usually by the time that he gets it, it's been thought over so many times that we can basically say step 1 is this and step end is this.
I think that's to double on Tyler's point. It's like that's the hardest thing, is connecting what's going on in the shop or how something is built in the shop or intended to be assembled in the shop, and then making its way to the field and having that disconnect. And I think, that's something that we are actively always working on, is trying to figure out, all right, well, what are those pitfalls, and how do we improve on them, and what that communication looks like. And I think, the partnership here is interesting to me, because it's you're essentially in the shop, he's essentially in the field, and then you have this, obviously partner to partner business, like, powwow, but you're also doing it for what's going on in the shop and how it gets installed in the field.
Yeah. Not to sound like a dick, but was that a question?
No. I'm just recapping.
I love this dude.
I'm just kidding.
You process stuff the way I want to process stuff. Just for the record, like, you hear it, you comprehend it, and then you tactically.
No. So, yeah, like the fact that he and I worked together for 10 years, like doing exactly what we're doing now, it alleviates most of those problems, because we build stuff the same way. We see a problem
That's
the
huge.
same way.
Yeah.
No,
it
it makes it work.
Yeah, years, working together, that's going to make that communication so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure.
at some point, you're basically guessing on how someone's thinking through that process, and there's a lot of collaboration.
You're finishing each other's sentences in a way.
Sandwiches. We'll install stuff from Henry Built sometimes, and they do a really good job with their install packet of like what they send out to their installers, and it's interesting to see how other people who sub out installs do it successfully. And they've been one, Henry Built, and then there's another. We're installing some stuff that VCA, the Boston shop, made, and so what they do is really interesting. They'll do their shop drawings and then build it in the shop, and then go through and edit all of their shop drawings to as builds, which I've never seen a shop do, and I bet that's common, but I've never seen it. So like you're getting drawings of like what parts you're actually getting, rather than like what we do. It's like, oh yeah, I know it's showing the thing goes this way, but we changed it, so good luck.
I don't think you're far off there. I say it to Ken all the time. It's like, I'd love the shop drawings to be an accurate representation of what we build. And he's like, the ones that are in the shop with the red pen over it are.
Yeah, there you go.
But
so they'll go back and do a full revision and give plans that show
that's cool.
what they actually built, which is, beneficial for the people installing it. And then Henry Built will just give you like a breakdown of not necessarily step by step, but like kind of lay out like your process, which is hugely beneficial, because a lot of their stuff I think is installed by the contractor who doesn't have cabinet making experience or cabinet install experience.
Sure.
So they delineate it in a way that just like anyone with screw gun experience can do, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that they were such a big shop. I mean, I've seen probably 2 or 3 projects just in the last few months that their cabinets have been in here in Boston. And I was thinking it was just a West Coast company, that was competing with you, but in a way they're much larger. They're a production shop, right?
They're a big deal. Yeah. They do a good job of getting their product out. Their product's nice too, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you ever / would you ever consider letting somebody install your stuff?
Yeah, I don't like to, but if that's what the job is, then yeah, we'll send stuff to Tahoe, and like, we're not driving to Tahoe. Nobody, that's 3 hours away. Nobody wants to go install in Tahoe. So yeah,
I will. I totally could go install in Tahoe all day long.
Change that shirt to MCW and you're hired, man. We will. I don't like to. I have control issues, so I guess I just like to control the product. But yeah.
So given,
I know a handful of guys who are the very detail-oriented, higher-end custom line of cabinetry, millwork, built-ins, furniture, and most of them are not letting people, or preferring that others don't install their work for obvious reasons. I was just curious if you were the same.
I think that's like a furniture maker, like a artisan level controlling thing that I just have to let go of and pick my battles and just be okay with the fact that if we're going to take a job that's out of driving range, that somebody else is going to have to put it in, and that's going to have to be okay.
Sure.
Would you travel for the right job though for install?
I don't think I could ask the guys to do that, ask the guys to leave their families and pets and lives, for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever to go and do that. And I don't know that I don't think that we have enough people that would be willing to drop what they have here for whatever period of time.
Again.
I said, change your shirt. You're hired.
Dude, you're way more considerate than I am. I'd just be like, all right, this is where the job is. This is what we're doing.
My old boss did that, man. I did not enjoy it.
No. But I mean, it's probably for the sake of the longevity of the company, being considerate of your employees is probably better.
But it sounds like you're not even asking.
Considerate.
You're not even asking.
Bold stance, Tyler.
But you're
believe it or not,
you're assuming on their behalf. It's we have a situation where someone wants to hire us to do millwork, but it's out of state. Mm-hmm. And I've asked the question like, hey, if this is a cool project, would anyone be interested in actually traveling? And two of them are like, yeah, we do that.
How many people do you have?
20.
Okay. How many do you need?
No. Like I'm saying, like
the answer usually is.
I just know. How many do you need? I like that. I just know that families and kids. We just don't have the crew that don't have those obligations.
Sure.
That would be willing to do it.
Mick has a rule: no family.
Yeah, right.
It's all single people.
We're hiring. Do you know anyone? No family. Cool. You're hired.
Done.
No pets.
I want to go
stay busy in your general area though. You work in San Francisco and the suburbs primarily.
Yeah. Most everything is San Francisco or between us and San Francisco. We do some stuff in Napa and north of us and wine country, but most of it is right around, within 40 miles of our shop.
And your shop is in Petaluma also?
Yeah.
There's not that much in Petaluma, is there?
It's like a 60,000 person town. It's not a big. We got a Target eventually. We finally got one of those. It's not a big town. No.
It's Target.
Didn't it used to be like straight up just farming?
Yeah,
like
no,
cows and
it's
stuff?
it's a chicken town. Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
That's it.
just a chicken town.
I love how he just comes to a stop.
No, it is like
it's a
farming town for sure.
I feel like it's one of those towns that a lot of people who are local to there grow up and never leave.
Yeah. My wife, she's born and raised and still lives here.
How did you guys meet?
Ooh, dude, how much time do you have? Can I tell the whole story? So
yeah, let's do it.
It's so fun.
He didn't wait for us to answer.
I remember. I remember when you told me that you moved out there.
Yeah. So
and some of the reasons, which I'm not going to actually state on the air.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh.
No, it was something with like religion.
Oh yeah.
And why we had that conversation at dinner. Why
we did go deep. We went deep, man.
But I want to know how you met your wife.
She's
prettier than Chase, by the way.
So much prettier.
Oh, that's a lot to say.
Like people will see us and be like, "Really? On purpose?"
You must have a lot of money.
Nah.
It's the other.
So my friend on Facebook, this was 8-9 years ago, was starting a photography company. And she was trying to build up a catalog of like, here's the work that I've done. And so she was posting all the time these photos of models that she took photos of. And it was like wedding photos and stuff like that. And one day I get on and she has this photo of this girl. And I'm just like, this is a hired model. Like there's no way I could say something and this person would see it. Like there's no way. So like I commented, like, hey, trying to get some work done. Can you stop posting these pictures? And then like later that night, I get a DM from somebody with that profile picture. And I'm like, no.
Catfish.
Exactly. Like I know what this is. Yeah. But it was just like, hey, had a bad day. Your comments made me laugh. Thanks. And I was like, why would you be, but I'm just, why are you talking to me? And then so we chatted for a few days and we were trying to decide whether or not we wanted to meet up in person. And like we're just texting, DMing nonstop. So like all day at work, I'm just like fingers, phone, let's go. And then I going out to dinner with my brother and sister, and I know that when I park my car, I'll have a DM in the inbox. So I intentionally parked like 4 blocks away from the restaurant so I could walk to the restaurant, read it, and respond, and then walk in. So I park far away. I'm reading it, and I stop to write out my response, and I'm just leaning up against a street light with my back to the parking lot. And I'm typing, and then his car comes up behind me, and it opens the door, and I'm typing, and the door closes, and I'm typing, and she walks in front of me, and I'm like, holy shit, that's her. Like she just walked in front of me. And so I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was her. So I finished the message, and I'm like, by the way, where do you get your haircut at? Because she walked into a salon. She's like, oh my God, I thought that was you.
Creepily sent her a picture of her.
Is this what your back looks like? So that night we just hung out till like 2 a.m. in her car, just talking. Yeah, that's how we met.
That's crazy.
How's that for a rom-com, Johnny?
Dude, I'm there. I'm sold.
John's
You should have
like,
filmed it. I
put
would've
John
watched
is
this
leaning
film.
into the screen right now.
Yeah, man, I love this stuff. Like, I really thought you were going to tell me that you went to do a photo shoot. Like, you were involved with that end of it.
No.
And I was like, this is going to be amazing.
It's still pretty good, John.
Yeah,
No, it
it's
is.
pretty
No.
good.
It's awesome.
Okay, I-
But
I always
feel
wish
like
how
it
do you
would
keep
have been better had you gotten catfish.
So I lost
Like, it's a pretty good
$7,000.
but I did make it on MTV.
Right.
I want to know how you keep it like that much fun. Like when you were texting and DMing all the time, like how do you, with all the noise that happens now, like I don't know how many, 20 years later,
Yeah.
I want to still be texting with my wife all night.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun, like flirting with your wife, man. Like the other day, she hates it when I leave doors and drawers open in the kitchen. And the other day, she takes the dogs out and comes back, and I have every single door and drawer in the kitchen, and the refrigerator and the microwave and the dishwasher just all wide open. And she walks in and she's like, "Oh, I can't believe the dogs didn't poop or whatever." And I'm just like waiting, like so excited. Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun flirting. But yeah, you can't do that all the time, man.
Would you
You get
consider
overwhelmed.
this being lost? Rachel just texted me. The vet said Polly's magnificent. She has an absolutely gorgeous body, 53 pounds. And I said, yeah, she had diarrhea all day long. And she said, glad I snagged a solid poo this morning.
See?
I mean, that's
flirting.
still.
Hey, dude,
yeah,
keep
right?
that going.
Magic.
Tyler, keep it going. You're up.
That's the magic.
You got to volley that back.
I feel like we haven't lost it.
No?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll send her a poo emoji.
Chase, I keep wanting to go back to something you talked about in the very beginning is, you had this spiritual or like this kind of, realization about work and a more of a meaning behind what you do.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, it was. Sorry, finish your question, then I'll ramble.
No, I feel like this all ties into it, like your personality, your chillness, your flirt level with your wife. Like, I feel like all of this kind of comes back to who you are as a person, and having a higher meaning behind what you do beyond the furniture. So that wasn't a question, but
No.
I want to unravel that.
I wasn't going to say it again. So I guess to start to answer that, to unpack that, like when we started this, me working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and having the work to do was a sense of pride. Like,
Right.
We're just so slammed. We're so busy. Like, I didn't say that as like a this sucks thing. I was like stoked, and like being able to work and being able to come in and being able to have stuff to do, and whether or not I thought it was fun, just like finding the most efficient way, finding the best way, finding whatever, like that continual pursuit of betterness, or the continual pursuit of anything, just the pursuit of anything, was so much fun. And then you obviously get burnt out, and I got super burnt out a couple years ago. We were on this project, and it was probably 16-hour days for 3 weeks straight, something like that. And it was just too much. And, you know, when that ended, I really needed to not work as much, but B, like, really reevaluate, like, is my self-worth tied to something that's unhealthy for me? You know, is this grind, this hustle mentality, is that really like the best thing for me as a person? Like, can I handle like just doing that forever, and reassessing like the balance of having a family and life that's also, that gives me more joy than what I do during the day.
What was what triggered it though? Like, I know obviously the 16-hour days for 3 weeks, but something led to needing to work the 16 hours for 3 weeks, and something along, you know, in those 3 weeks probably like, you know, you made you think, right, like you stopped in your tracks and probably thought like, I can't do this. This is like, I put myself in this position. I need to take myself out of it.
Yeah, I think what was the driver, if I would be honest about motivation for that hustle grind mentality, was fear of failure. And if you can admit that and look at like, I'm not a failure if this business fails. I'm not a failure if this cabinetry package isn't on time. Like, my self-worth is derived from other things, then I think it's easier to step back and take a realistic view at business. Whereas I did not have a healthy perspective with business, for sure.
And what steps did you take to change that?
Oh no, it's not a ABC thing. Like, it's a work in process. Like, I'm still, you know, on my wife's birthday this year, we went out to dinner and came back and she watched me paint until 2 a.m. Like, it's still there. Like, it's never going to go away. That's love. No, for sure. She was so sweet. She was so helpful. But yeah, no, it's never like, for me, it's not, here's the steps to take to have a better balance.
Yeah. I don't think I
just
meant
finding
the step by step, but more so like, what, you know, when you finished that 3 week job, you said to yourself, all right, going forward, I'm going to make sure I ask for 4 weeks, you know, for finish instead of 2, you know, like I feel like it's always those little incremental changes that when anyone in this industry and I think that's what a lot of people relate to, is that when we all get into this headspace of wanting to give up, or this is just too much. Why am I doing this? Is it really worth it? But we come out. It's because we're usually on the verge of our next growth.
Yeah.
It's usually like we're struggling, and then once we make it through that, we all of a sudden we're up a rung on the ladder, and that it's like. But it's just, you know, this. You're constantly climbing that ladder, and you're constantly faced with struggle, and then you get this like amazing excitement of growth, but it's what changes, you know, in those moments. It's the things that you know, whether it's process in the business, or whether it's personality, or whether it's just, you know, inner peace about, you know, like simple things for like asking for more time on a job. So
it's funny that reminds me of a story. Like, when Matt and I started, we didn't have the setup that we came from. We didn't have the tools and the everything, and everything was hard. Everything was a fight to get things right to the quality that we knew woodworking should be. And one time, I don't remember what it was, I'll just make up, like, he cut all the face frames for this cabinet, and the chop saw was just a little bit out of square, so all the joints were open, and he was just so defeated. And I was like, buddy, it's never going to get any harder than this. Just like, it's only going to get easier. Like, we'll get it set up. We'll get it ironed out. This will be the hardest it ever is. But your actual question had nothing to do with my ramble. What
my question,
what made me think of that?
My thing is, Nick, I think, I don't know, unintentionally, you have a great way to lie to yourself. on all these different things. You create these little bubbles where it's like, and I do the same thing, but I'm recognizing this trend where it's like, yeah, no, I chalked it up to marketing, and you know what, I'm leveling up, and then it's like rip it out mentality. If I can put a slogan on it, then people can get behind that. And the reality is,
you can find peace with it. Almost.
Personally, yeah. Whatever gets you to go to bed and get over it. It just, sometimes it's, Chase, like that whole, like, there's an opportunity that comes down the line, you know, whether you had the shop booked out and then that next great opportunity came with another builder or design or whatever it was, and you're like, I can do that. Like, you started with, I'll do a whole built-in in 7 days, you know, like that's how it started. So like, where do you go from there when you set the bar like that? So it's tough that I find myself where it's like someone calls and goes, hey, can you help? And it's like, you want to please. And I don't know how to curb that without, that's why I think it's like, is there a program to wean myself off of this wanting to put myself in harm's way for what? That at the end of it, they may not recognize what risk was taken on our end to make it reality.
Yeah, it is hard because those relationships that we have set up with those contractors are so beneficial because of the first ones, and they know that we're capable of doing those things. So they just continually expect, like, oh, these guys will, you know, work Thanksgiving if we ask them to or whatever.
The expectation has been set.
Yeah, so it's hard to backtrack from that. We're like, oh no, we respect ourselves now. You know,
I'm not that girl anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So it is hard to back out of that with certain relationships that we have. Absolutely. And what you said about lying to yourself, it absolutely, like when I get cut off in traffic, I tell myself that person just got the call and they're rushing to the hospital, and it's like, and that's what I need. I know it's a lie, but like my day's better because I lied to myself, and just being able to control my own happiness with that lie. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Lie to yourself.
I think it goes back to John. You asked the question, like, how do you change? You know, it's like, how do you become unaddicted to work?
Yeah.
And I think, John, I think you answered it by, you know, kind of full circle here, is that you don't. You cope with it. And whether it's lying to yourself or putting a slogan on it or whatever the case may be, it's finding the inner peace in what you do and being addicted to work, or, you know, going to a job site rather than the office, and being in the trenches rather than on the paperwork and on the business side. It's like, but you said it right in when you were explaining that. It was like, yeah, I didn't get what I wanted done, but it was a super productive day. It's like, I mean, someone could argue with you, and was it productive?
The problem is when you don't go home, and like you don't stay home on a Saturday. There's this draw to get to the job site that there is no call, there is no fire to put out, there is no reason for you to be there, but it's 100% because, like, when I went away, I was gone for a week. I was down the Cape. It was honestly too close to my job sites, where I was like, one day my kids woke up and I was just gone. I was already there, and I'm like, I'll get there and get back. And I'm driving back going, what am I doing? Like I was worried about the floor stain, and I should be there. I'm responsible for how this project rolls, even though the designer, one of my guys was there, client, this whole team. But yet, I guess it's when you steer something so far, who would give up on the last quarter of the race and be like, hey, you know what, jump in the driver's seat and take the relay the rest of the way. But I think that's until we have the right team, because it's how we have to do it. Like, Tyler, you don't. Like, but Chase, you have to. Like, you have to do, someone has to bid the job, and it is this relay. Then you get it in the shop, and then you got to pass the baton off to these guys. So there is that disconnect where you get to go, here you go. But for me, I haven't gotten that far. Almost 3 years in, we're at that point where we are leveling up, Nick, where you did phrase it that way. It's just this whole uneasiness about accuracy of projects during like a hiring process. There is a lot of, like, Tyler, I think I harness you, and I'm like, how am I going to cope with today when I know things are going to be wrong? You know, like all these things. And I'm like, I got to get over this, because how I handle this will keep this person employed with me for the next 2 to 6 years, which will then give me my life back.
Yeah.
Where I'm not addicted to it.
One of the things that really helped, and this isn't completely related, but it was a big just thing for us in general. We have a job titles and expectations form, and that's what we go over when we do reviews, and like we have all the levels broken down and what people are expected to know and do, and we rate people on that. But a few years ago we started asking people, do you feel like you have opportunities to fail here? Are you given tasks that you feel like it's okay if you fuck them up? And everyone said no. Everyone said no, because my control, Matt's control is a lot. We care a lot about the product, but what we realize is we're not giving the chance to grow. We're not giving tasks that people are able to fuck up. We're not giving important tasks away, knowing that they could be done unsuccessfully. So what we've started doing is sending extra material, like just for the apprentices on install, we'll send extra kick face material and like, hey, we have 16 extra feet of base, practice on those 2 cabinets. If they're wrong, we can do them over, do them right. But that also goes to like, I never let anybody else do site measurements because I need to see it. I need to see it the way that I do to relate to the draftsperson. And if something's wrong there, we make this thing like everything's messed up. So it was really, really hard, but like just letting somebody else do that. And if they can never mess it up, they're never able to grow to what you think you're able to do. So like just giving people tasks that they're 100% able to mess up and learn from is you're never going to find somebody to take work off your plate if you never give them that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean,
Site measurements is a big one now.
Yeah,
it's a big one.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think that's where that's why I'm an advocate for, like John said, the rip it out mentality, where it's like I want these guys to learn, I want these guys to mess it up, but it's important that they understand that when something gets messed up, that you're empowered to fix it. It's not a cover up. Yeah. And I think that's the flip side of it. It's teaching them that it's okay to screw up, but also explaining that it's one of those things that you need to learn from and correct and bring to the level of expectation.
I think I phrased it. Everyone has the opportunity to make mistakes, but the obligation to learn from them in our SOP. And I think that's very important. Like, yeah, we have a boneyard of stuff upstairs that's just like stuff that there's one cabinet upstairs that's a media center that was made 4 times. Every single time it was wrong. It was like 12 feet long. There's just like 10 sheets of pre-finished walnut plywood upstairs. Just like, we'll get it right eventually. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Rip it out.
I remember probably a couple years ago now, you were doing a story in your shop, and it was a bunch of drawers and doors. I'm like, what is that? And you're like, oh, that's the graveyard. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I got one of those. I got a ton of drawers. A ton of drawers.
Like, dude, I've been moving 2 drawers around my shop for the past like year.
2.
That
that's cute.
But it's like I can't throw them out. I'm like, I'm gonna find a use for these.
I know.
Or like
I'll design a piece of furniture around it. Yeah. It's like, save myself $60.
We said the same thing. They all end up turning into hardware drawers. It's like now all the hinge clips.
That's where I'm like, where am I gonna be able to put this up on the shelf that I can put stuff into it? I just moved them again last night. I'm just like, what are these doing?
Yeah. 2 for Tyler's like 12 to anybody else.
Yeah, that's like a year worth of work for me right there.
God.
What does your review process look like? So you have this job expectation.
Go slow so Nick can write this down.
No. I think I have sent it to you. I will send it to you. I don't care.
No, I have it, and it's part of my. It's
now Nick's. He sends it out to other people.
It's part of my handbook.
It's it's just a dedicated time where they can like tell us how they would be more efficient, more satisfied at work, and we could tell them that they're failing us. No, I'm kidding. things that you've learned, things we need to do better. And like, we don't take a lot of time. I really try to pick my battles with the stuff that I do bring up. So that's really our opportunity to be like, listen, like, got to shake blankets up before you wrap up a cabinet before it goes to the finisher. If there's a screw in one or whatever, it's going to damage. And that's happened twice now, and we're not learning the lesson. So I really try not to just stop every time somebody does something wrong, and really pick my battles on what actually needs to be brought up versus what I just want to bring up. So that's just our time to sit down and go over all that stuff.
Is it structured like every 6 months, or?
It's definitely every year. We should be doing them more often, but it's definitely every year. We should do them every 6 months.
What do you think what are the biggest improvements or benefits you see from doing them?
I mean, I like our format because it's not pay transparency. Like, people don't know what other people make, but it's definitely pay accountability. People on the form, we have like, this job pays this much, this job pays this much. So if you think that you know and you get and all the things on that list, you can come and say, hey, I need more money. That was a gripe that, obviously everyone's had, but that we had at our last shop. And we're like, we're not going to do this to people. We're not going to just trap them in limbo for years. Like, come and talk to me if you think that if I'm not seeing it and you're seeing it, then like, let me know. Cause like, my goal is not to like make all the money. Like, I want the people that make this business successful to be successful and be comfortable. So pay accountability is a big part of that. God, I already forgot the question again. What was the question, Nick?
I was just asking about the frequency and if it was structured like every 6 months or, and you said year.
Yeah, we try to do it every 6 months, but in the summer, sometimes it's really hard to find. Summer seems like it's just, we should do it like spring and fall. Summer just is always rush projects to get done by the time.
I thought it was always summer in California.
Seriously.
Yeah, God.
Isn't it?
Kinda. No, we get rain, man.
Are you guys still attached to the U.S.?
We are. Yeah, statistically, it is attached.
I thought it broke off.
Not yet.
I thought it burnt off.
There you go. Yeah. Pretty close.
That's just a filter. I think people use that as a filter.
Dude, it's bad, man. It's bad.
It's
right
crazy.
Now. Yeah.
Is it
it's like nonstop?
Well, last year was terrible, right? It was last year or the year before.
It's 4 years in a row now. I mean, I didn't grow up here, but I hear people talking like, it used to be every 10 years there'd be a fire, that we'd be kind of on our radar. And now it's just every single year, like right where we are, they're just a stone's throw north of us or west or east or whatever. Just 4 years in a row. Like, we've had a bag packed at the door ready to go.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going back real quick, I've had this dilemma we've talked about in past podcasts where I think it was just the last one where, something was screwed up on the job site. I'll stick around and sweep the street, blah, blah. And then when we talk about reviews like this, it's like setting someone up for this review always made me anxious when I had reviews. Like, oh, this is my one time to either, how do I pipe up? Cause this would be the time I get a raise. Like, how do I voice my opinion of a gripe with the company or with how I'm being treated, when at the same moment, this is when I'm supposed to get evaluated for a raise. So to me, and then the other side of it is like when you teach a dog to sit, or like, let's say I coach and it's like a kid's on the ice. By the time they get off the ice and they've screwed something up, it's almost too late to make that correction with a dry eraser board. So like waiting 6 months for a review, how is it, like I go back and forth on this all the time. How do you not just kind of casually correct it on the spot so that way they get it like a dog when it sits? Or do you wait 6 months and then when it's peed inside the house, you're like, well, you shouldn't do that. The dog has no idea what you're correcting.
Right. No,
well,
we
good
also
thing you don't have dogs who work for you, huh?
Anymore.
I knew Tyler was going to terrible
dog. We also do like shop meetings every ideally once a week. We're going over safety meetings, but once every month or month and a half, we'll go over like what jobs are coming up and then touch on safety issues. And I try to not pick out anyone in particular and just talk about like, okay, you're leaving scraps on the floor and that will cause somebody to trip. So like, let's make sure we're putting our scraps in the trash can. So blah, blah, blah. And turn everything into a safety issue, which I mean, essentially most stuff is, other than just like being on your phone, look at Instagram while you're at work, a safety issue that needs to be talked about. Like everything is boiled down to safety, even, you know, cleanliness, sweeping up on the job site, at the shop, safety, you know. So having those safety meetings is a great way to be like, this is what we need, and most of it's safety, you know. I mean, our ethic is really hard. Our work ethic and our drive is really hard to be a part of this team and not be like giving enough, because everyone else is, you know, everyone else is here and just going for it. So it's really hard to have somebody come in and not be on that same page, because I would think that they would feel like, oh shit, everyone else is really busting ass.
Yeah.
I guess that's just what we do here. Yeah. So that's not usually that big of a deal for us, like slacking off or anything. It's usually just like legitimate safety concerns, and however small that those can be.
I guess I was just thinking, like, I've seen other cabinet shops where, you know, we ran one for a minute when I was younger, and it was like, do you have a debrief after every install, like after each product? Because sometimes when you have the shop and you have install split, there can be this animosity between the two divisions, and that can get out of control. So it's like it's like a family, you know, siblings. How do you control this in-house?
I mean, it's really great with Matt and I. Like, he'll just text me, be like, hey, stop putting number 20s in these biscuit slots. We need a little bit more room. Use number 10s or whatever. And like, okay, received, you know, like, gotcha. It's great with him because like he and I, our communication, it can be really abrupt and really short. And we both know each other's heart and where we're coming from. And it's like, he loves me, I love him. But we can be like, here's how much time I have to give you right now. You know what I mean? Without being like worrying I'm offending. So most of our shop guys never see our install guys, and vice versa. They just never collide. Like they don't know each other. So it's just Matt and I talking.
I love how you give all the credit to Matt, even though you still have to receive that and then implement it at the same pace that it was given to you.
If you met him, you'd get it.
No, I know, I do, but we talk to a lot of people on this podcast and social media, and you always hear an I, and it was one of my big takeaways with you, is that it's always about the team. It's always about everybody else and what they do, and you're just kind of you're not towing the line, but you're the closer. Like everyone else is setting these expectations, and it's great, and then you just got to kind of swoop in, and it's kind of that quiet story at the back.
I think I take that as a compliment. Thank you. Yeah, I don't. I mean, everyone here makes this work. It's not one person in particular. It's not like, oh, without this person, this business wouldn't be able to succeed. Like it's everyone, you know, like there's not, I mean, there's a person that sends the emails, but is that the job that matters? Like it's the guy that's sweeping up, like we need that person. Like it's like if you're a chef at a restaurant, like, yeah, you're the one putting the menu together, but like if they don't order the ingredients, like you can't do your job. Like it's definitely everyone that makes this work.
It's funny. We've had other guys on here that claim to be leaders. I would just, and then they can't back it up and explain how it's done. It's how are you leading your guys on a day-to-day basis? You know, I mean, I know you're getting work. That's not, people think that, oh, I bring the work in, that's leading. It's not. It's how do you, as a family, make things happen and do it? Are you leading by example? So like, I've had a hard time now where we just hired a new guy and I'm like, don't stay as long as me. Like point blank, don't follow me to where I'm about to go. I'm going to go hang with the framers, try and figure something out. And while I talk to them, I'll find a problem with my eyes. So it's like, I'm not the best example. So how do you lead, you know, with Matt?
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of view my role as facilitating, people to be as happy as they can while they're here. So we all know, like, if you're in the flow state, if you have what you need, if you enjoy working on the tools that you have, you're the happiest you can be doing the job that you have to do. So how do I facilitate as few interruptions, as few inconveniences, frustrations as I can for everyone that's here? Like, how do I let people do what they're good at doing and get them the things that they need in advance? How do I foresee their issues and help them before that they know they're going to need help? How do I lead with Matt? I don't think many people here like need specific direction on, like, you know, beyond like, here's what you're doing today, not like here's the attitude that I want you to have, or here's the those things just don't need discussed because of A, our 10-year relationship before this, and B, like, we do really know each other. He knows my heart, I know his heart, and like we know where we're at with things, you know. So
how do you hire guys that fit into that mold?
Where are you finding guys also, or girls?
We go through a lot of people. I just did our workers comp, and I just had to clean out all the old people that used to work here and don't. We go through a lot, and I'm so at our last job, I didn't want to be there for years. And my sister has always been the type of person who she would just leave a job if she wasn't happy. And I was always like, how do you just like trust that everything's going to be okay? Like, how do you like, just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm getting a lot better at, I don't want to give my time to things that I don't want to do. And part of that is being around people that I don't enjoy being around. So step one is just like, I have to feel like you're maybe not fun, but like we will get along working together. And so we'll let people go like after a week, like, yeah, this isn't the right fit, man, I'm sorry. And it's every single time it's like the way that they react just shows like, oh, I was absolutely right about you. like just freaking out on us and stuff like that. But yeah, we go through a lot of people. We find people. We've hired some people through Instagram. Some of our best people, like, I've met on Instagram. And yeah, I mean, just all the traditional ways. There's no like secrets about that. But I think when people see our paperwork that we have set up for employees, they're a lot more like, oh, you guys take this seriously. Like the shop that I was at before, like, they don't really care that much. They're just like, yeah, come and make these kick boxes. And if I need something else, you could do it tomorrow. We really care about our people's happiness, for sure.
So Chase, the first week, how are you getting that feedback? Because I feel like sometimes, even myself, an example of like that first week, I may not, like, that person's open up some time for me, so I'm getting all this stuff done. Are you the one responsible for vetting that out and getting a temperature
No.
of what's
I'll listen to Matt, and I'll listen to the guys in the shop, and they'll just tell me like this may not be the right fit. But I mean, the best example that I can think of is, and I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating about this at all. Day one of a new employee comes to the shop. I spill a bag of glue, edge bander glue, nicked like the little pellets. He stands there and watches me with his hands on his hips for 7 minutes, pick up the glue by myself. Like, that's all I need to know. Like, that's all I need to know about you. Mm-hmm. You're done. Like, this isn't going to work out. You know,
fire
like, that's it
right there.
No, we let him, like, I'm not gonna fire you off of one thing, but I'm going to have a heavy suspicion that I'm going to wait for you to confirm for me.
3 minutes in, hey, you know what? We're going a different direction.
So every new like, employee, you spill something.
Dude,
first,
I swear
right
to God,
off the bat.
Man, like that's what I want to do. Just like have a box of screws and just drop them and just see, like, you gonna help or what?
Fail, you're fired.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so hard because I feel like, you know, the hiring process, you try to be slow with it, but everyone says hire slow, fire fast. But, you know, it's, you try to be
Who's
so
everybody.
I don't know. That's the first time I've heard this.
Like, where do you?
I read this motivational poster that said hire slow, fire fast.
Everybody.
And hang in there.
But I remember hearing that or reading it and really trying to put that into motion where it's like, all right, I need to be more methodical about who we hire, make sure they're the right fit. And, I think it's, you said,
And you hire 6 at a time. It's like, give me a half a
we
dozen.
did. We did.
I
And
know.
it was
spill this. You spill that. And it was. He's like, wait, did number 5 pick it? I don't remember. Did 5 pick it up or 4?
It's numbers.
It's like 1 through 3 picked up, 4 didn't, 5 picked up half, 6 didn't.
Poor Nick can't finish a thought.
We need more pellets.
Just listen, like people know who Nick is. We talk about it in the podcast. He's like, you know what? I'm hiring slow, and it's like 3 episodes ago he hired 7 people, and you're
but
like,
it was a slow process.
Slow for who?
Maybe an interview, John.
It was. I mean, there was a lot of people, but it was a slow process. It was it was multiple meetings. It was
how do you have more time in the day than I do?
He gets better deals when he buys in bulk.
Costco hire.
I don't even remember what question I wanted to ask. I think my point is that like I feel like a lot of people look at when you say we've been through a lot of people, a high turnover, that's oftentimes looked at as a negative.
Yeah.
And it's like we recently lost a couple people here, and it's like I immediately went into this. Am I doing something wrong? Am I hiring the wrong people? Am I not building the business the way I'm promoting it? Am I I go through this entire like mind warp of like what did I do wrong, only to then realize when I really broke it down, it's like no, it just wasn't the right fit for them.
It's so hard not to internalize that. Like firing people is one of the hardest things in the world. Like I've never that's the part of the business that I just cannot stand. But the thing that I said about facilitating happiness, like I see that as part of hiring and firing. Like if you're not happy here, if this isn't where you want to be, then absolutely do not be here. Like go find something that you love. Like life is we have an apprentice right now. I know his heart's not here. He wants to go he wants to be an actor. He wants to, start a soccer program thing. And like his heart's not here. And I want him to have every ounce of happiness and stay here as long as he wants to. Absolutely. I love him. But like, your heart's not here, find your happiness. And like being able to say that like to someone, like I could tell this isn't the right fit for you, go find that, like go live your best life, and it's not here. It's hard not to say that and sound like a dick, but you got to. I don't know.
I mean, it's the type of thing, though, if they hang around for too long, then it gets to the point where you feel as though you're being taken advantage of because their heart's not in it, and maybe they're not giving.
Oh, I mean, he works hard and he cares, and he'll learn. But I know that he doesn't want to be a cabinet maker. I know that that's not what his life goal is.
Which is, I think that like long term, that's tough though, because when you have a group of people that this is their passion and this is what they want to be doing, and you know they eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff, and then they're not as tuned in as everyone else, that it can get to a point where it's like, hey, maybe this isn't the best fit. Hey, maybe there's somebody who can make this entire team work better. And it's not to say that the person's not a hard worker, they don't have good intentions, but it can lead down a road if left long enough that
for sure
it does either create some sort of resentment or issues within the entire company, or you're just not performing the best that you can.
Well, we do have apprentices that want to be here and want to learn and want to know and want to grow into those roles that they see other people in the company. And what the person I'm talking about was a COVID hire and a friend before this. So like, I'm okay with it for him. But yeah, absolutely. I totally see that. And one of the things that like I think about from time to time is when I wanted to learn furniture, when I wanted to learn cabinetry, what I didn't realize, and I wish more people did, is where like everyone just wants to go to the place that pays the most. Whoever gives me 22 instead of 21, or I don't know what people pay, but what you guys pay, but that's the one I'm going to take. And without realizing the investment that comes from the shop that you work at. So if you want to be legitimately, if this is your passion, it matters more where you go than what you get paid. If you want to be a Michelin star chef, like, you're not going to go work at Qdoba because they pay you a few bucks more than the place who's going to give you a shit job, cause you to do shit work that you don't want to do, but makes those meals, makes those dishes. You know, you will learn at. Like, yeah, you'll make more at Qdoba, but this is the place that you can learn at. And I wish I would have realized that when I got started, that, like, I worked at a laminate shop getting started just because it was kind of woodworking and they were hiring. But where you're able to give your time when you learn is so important, so much more important than how much you're making. And I'm not saying I would never advocate anyone to be underpaid, but I would rather have. It's kind of like buy the best house in the worst or the worst house in the best neighborhood. It's I would rather have the shittiest job at the best shop than a good paying job at a shitty shop.
But I think that also probably makes you who you are, because I don't think everyone's like that. I think that's a really good decision. That's a great mindset to have.
I didn't have that mindset. I wish I would have.
But like now, I think that you see that now, right? And like that makes sense. You know, I don't think that most people, especially younger people, are like that. They get done college or they come out of high school or they get done trade school, and people are. It's about how much money you can make, and it's very short-sighted, and it's not about investing in your future or kind of shutting your mouth and eating it for a few years to kind of get where you want to be or get that experience. Everyone seems so entitled to that right now, where it's just like, I should be making X amount and all of this knowledge and these benefits, and I should be treated a certain way, where it's like sometimes you kind of have to pay your dues and put the effort in and work your way up. And again, like you said, putting the time in at a good shop, whether it could be the worst job at that shop, is going to be better in the 10, 15 year game. Maybe you make a little bit less for the first couple of years, but you're going to give yourself an opportunity to progress a lot more down the road.
Boss paid less than anyone in town. And I mean, we didn't know that when we were working there, but when I was in Missouri working with that guy, you know, we were doing, you know, kitchens for $200,000 homes, and I was thinking I was having cabinets, you know, furniture, woodworking's woodworking, and that I was learning those things. And then when I moved here, I realized, like, I was going to learn more in 5 years than I would have in a lifetime in Missouri, just because the projects that we're continually asked to do around here are just so complicated, and you learn so much so fast if you're at the shop that's doing those crazy, hard, difficult things, for sure.
How did you end up at that shop?
Yeah, no, I didn't think I was going to work at the shop that I did that long. So when I left Missouri, I sold everything that wouldn't fit in my car and just drove out here. I had the job before I moved here, but I didn't have a place to live.
What kind of car?
Acura CL 2-door, 97, black.
Not a lot of stuff.
Not a lot of stuff.
Just trying to paint that picture.
Had you two
it was
on
tight.
loop
the whole ride. I did an internship in college in Sacramento, and we visited the Bay Area one time, and it's so gorgeous here. So I just knew, like, I'd be okay ending up there. Wanted to get out of Missouri, moved here, got a job, and it was, you know, Petaluma is not close to the city. It's not close to where people are. So I figured I would work there for, you know, a little bit and then find a better spot. But it turned out like the shop that I, you know, moved here to start working at was one of the better shops in the area, just doing really, really nice stuff. So stayed there for 10 years. And I slept in my car for like 2 weeks when I moved here.
Oh,
legit.
With all your stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like 6 what? You're 6 foot, right?
6'4", yeah.
Just painting that picture for people.
Yeah, it was tight, man.
Like tight. People would hear me say that and be like, oh, you can fit anywhere. But, you know, like, you're a bigger dude. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is, Tyler, I don't have tattoos, but I've watched a lot of those tattoo shows, and I always I got a new appreciation for like the apprentices on those shows that like have to work the front desk and then they get the tattoo a little bit, and there is like zero mercy on those guys and girls because you're leaving something permanent on someone's skin, and it's almost a rite of passage for these people to have to do this for 2, 5, whatever, how many years it takes until you're ready to tattoo on someone's skin that's going to be something beautiful that represents that shop. And like I have a hard time with where the breakdown is for our industry, why people aren't more like, hey, I'm an apprentice at this shop. Mm-hmm. Like, why isn't that worn with a badge of honor? Because I'm then going, look where the path takes me. Yeah. The products I get to be on, the opportunities I get to have. And I think that's what I try and have. And Chase, what you have for a mentality is, I don't want to say I'm like that. I would love to have that same appreciation. And I hope I do. I just have it for all the subs. Like when I get on site, you'll hear me. Like I'm like, woo, you frame it. Is that a dormer? Yes. And like just getting everybody fired up and excited because I don't care if it's from a guy hammering ledge to whoever it is. Like this is the best day. Look what we're doing. This is what we have and the appreciation. But on the flip side, as I'm walking around being a psycho, I'm making sure there's enough stock there. Like, is it on time? Is that because as a PM in reality, I may own a company, but as a project manager or a superintendent, it's our job to make ourselves money. You know, I want to give them the best spot to be where like, hey, here's the drawings, here's all the stock, now be an artist. Like that's lost. Where when they come into our job, they go, oh, you know what? I get to do this. Like they get riled up or they get the energy again. Like we said with your wife, how do you get that, 2 a.m. in the car? Like, right. Imagine if you sat in your car till 2 a.m. right now with your wife. Like
watch her sleep.
Just like, what are we doing? Like, but no, it's like, how do you keep that going? Like, I never want to forget those early moments of appreciation. And now that, I run the job, I want to still bring that energy because I want the new guy to have that same thing where he's like, I caught him today. I was walking around the site. He's just looking at me like, dude, what the fuck?
How do you keep the romance with work?
Yeah, exactly. And it's then how do you make it contagious to everyone else? Mm-hmm. And give it that's what you're doing in the shop, Yeah.
I mean, I think that palpable sense of excitement is contagious, and it's funny. Like our install guys, man, they'll see something in the shop, and they're just jonesing for like, oh man, I can't wait till that gets to site. Like, that's gonna be so cool. It is fun to have that, but like the reality is like a lot of jobs just are really freaking boring, and like finding that excitement when it's just like really basic stuff is the challenge. Like everybody gets excited when it's like, oh, lamination radius island thing or whatever, but like what if it's just like slab front? Like how do you make that fun? That's the hard part.
Or what if it starts going wrong?
yeah what if you have to scrap it and start over?
I'm just picturing John hanging on the side of a hammer like, whoa, we're hammering, but this is the wrong spot. We should be over there.
Tear it up mentality. Here we go. No, it's...
You got 2 pools.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I also want the fact that like someone has to have enough experience where it's fun, but yet at the same time, you're still doing a job. Like I'll immediately have fun, pull away, and like my client today, I was walking him through the next step of what's happening. He goes, I feel like I'm like a NASCAR pit stop. Like you just get like, I don't even know if I should go home right now. Like where should I go next? Like I'm telling him where everything's going, and it's like it's fun, it's energy, but it's also it's knowing how everything's gonna roll and keeping track of that. And I am very lucky to a point where I remember everything that's happening. Where it's like, oh, this is where all these. I love that whole putting puzzle together part, and it's like the job is a big Tetris. Like how's stuff gonna fall, and teaching that to younger people. Like this kid's an assistant super. He goes to college at Wentworth. He switched to nights. He's got that hustle. To break it down, this kid took a month and a half to interview with our company. I met him the first time. He we played tag here and there just because I'm busy, and I have every intention to meet somebody. And then it's like, oh well, I got this call. You are not that important yet. Like I want you to be, you are, but like my client, the current job, the subs on site is priority 1. So he kept after it. Like, hey, How about tomorrow? How about, that's like like step one. You know, like he's actually hungry to do it, where most people will be like, hey, okay, just let me know. And it's like, all right, no, pass. Like, you don't need to even spill glue, you know? He did that. And then I'm like, hey, next step for you is you got to make time to meet with everybody else in the company. I don't care where it is, how you shake it out, but I'll radio back with these guys, and then I want you to interview them. And then I have a big thing about asking younger kids about, I want you to know how much you want to make, what you think your value is, because for me, that's a big trigger on how they're going to interact with a sub on that conflict. That's the first line of conflict is going to be, how much do you think you're worth? How much do you think you're going to get? And how you have that conversation with eye contact. Like, hey, what do you think you deserve? And then just stare right at them. No mercy, and be like, what are you thinking? Like, this is like poker. Like, bring it. Like, what do you got? Like, I know what my number is. Where are you at? And then they do it, and it's like, dude, you're not even close. You're worth more than that. And like the kid Hunter I had, he's like, yeah, $12. I'm like, I know what you made at your last place. Like, you don't think you've grown it all in a year. Stop, come back to me in an hour with what you think you should make. Like, it's like having that dialogue with them. That way they know what they expect going forward. Like, that was something I was never good at, ever. So I want to be like, I want you to be better at that. Now I'm great with it with the clients. Like, oh, that's 800,000. But it's like, you have to be, that's early on, that thing. And then he met with everybody. One guy said, I don't think he's a good fit, which made me question that person. And not the other way around. And everyone else said yes. And then he came back, met with me, and actually Benny did all the other part of it, because the goal was to put Benny into a GM. So he just kind of figured out what he needs to make, radioed back to me where he wanted to be, said make it happen, and then got all the paperwork done. And he started with me Monday. It was yesterday. Wow. So about a month and a half to kind of vet it out and to see if the kid really wants to pursue this, because that's a process. And he saw different job sites, and I have all the guys meet him on job sites because I want them to walk it and kind of have that, big eyes. Like, what am I looking at? Like, kind of talk and walk casually, so it's a little bit of both, and see what they're hung up on. And like, he was great. Like, he walked one of our projects and he's like, this is the nicest I've ever seen. I'm like, not bragging, this is entry level for us. So if this is going to overwhelm you, just let me know now. And just so it gets tough. Like, a lot of guys want to be like, I know everything. And then, like, I remember when I was younger, we hired a kid that was a carpenter who said he could roof. And I remember I said this story before probably. I'm on this roof in Norfolk, and I'm taking all the shingles. I'm like, all right, I'll take the shingles from the cheek wall over. You take them from where I got you over to the end. Not that hard. Like, all lines are snapped. And then I'm flying, boom, stepping them up. And then I keep coming back to having to add that shingle up my step. And I'm like, what's your deal? And he's like, well, I watched my dad roof. And I'm like, so you don't know how to roof? Like, so everyone wants to say it, but it's more like, just tell me what you do and don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to grade you poorly on that. Yeah. I just know where I need to focus because I don't know you yet. So that's how we
ask me as many questions as you can. Like, whenever something goes wrong here, I always start with, I didn't give good enough instructions. I didn't give you enough time for questions. Somehow this is my fault, and I'm going to figure out what it is. And like, did I just trust you too much? And just, God, that's so hard. We have so many people that come here and they're like, oh yeah, we've hired 2 people who own their own business, own their own cabinet shop, and got here and just didn't know how to drive a screw. Yeah, this is good for radio, right? Didn't know how to drive a screw, and it's like, oh my God, you just lied to me so much. You're getting paid so much money because you lied to me, and we're just done here. Yeah, it's just just be honest. Like, I tell people now, like, we've had a lot of people sell themselves like they know what they're doing to make the most money, because our pay sheet is like pretty well delineated on like what you will make. People all the time like, oh yeah, that's me right there, that one's me, so I want this much. Absolutely, let's start you there. And week 1, it's like, you are a liar. So I tell people,
what do you do in that situation?
Oh, they're fired. Like, I can't say like, so you get less money now. Like, you lied, so like, we're just done. We're done here. I tell people now, like, I would recommend you just saying that you want less, or like you're at a lower spot, because so many times we've given people raises before the first check hits. Like,
Yep.
you lied, like, the good way, you're better than that. So, like, we're going to get you here instead of what you said you were at. And that's such a better conversation to have than like, oh shit, like, you don't know how to do anything.
There's only one option the other way.
You have to.
I feel like the same way. It's like when people ask for stuff, like, what'd you make at your last place? Stuff like that. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to put you right around here. You're going to earn that spot that you say you're worth, but I'm going to put you, whether it's $5,000, whatever it ends up being, where I think that it should be
an hour.
Yeah.
It's decent.
But it's like, I'm going to do that. And it's like, they're like, hey, it's a review process. I'm like, no, I'm going to be on you. Like, everyone else has gotten raises just because we've been able to see your responsibility is way higher than what you're doing right now. So we're going to give you more. Like we keep saying, the hardest part about growing a company is being able to stay on top of it, so that way what's happening before they want to ask. Because it's that animosity and that stuff that kind of builds up that you can't get rid of it. It's like that high school girlfriend that you cheat on, or once that, and you fight to get that relationship back on track, dude, it's never coming back.
Yeah.
So it's how we. Yeah.
The energy is toxic too. Like our old place, like it was there, and you can't get rid of it. A raise doesn't make that 2 years of being underpaid go away. It doesn't fix that. Like, oh, cool, I'm good now. But what about for the past 2 years when I was worth more than this guy over here? That, yeah.
But it spreads like a virus, because then it's like, hey, what are you making? You know, and then it turns into this like mutiny.
A guy that's quitting, not retiring from there on Friday, called me yesterday and said, just out of curiosity, what were you making when you were here? And I was like, oh man, you found out, didn't you? Like, I knew exactly what was happening.
$18 an hour.
Yeah,
that's usually the going rate for everyone that leaves.
Yeah, right.
Across the board for interviews.
I struggle with this, because when people are, asking about, oh, how much do you make? Or like amongst, because I never asked, like, anyone I ever worked with, that was none of my business. That's what I was taught. Right.
So when did that change? Because you ask everybody now. Like, I remember when I first met you, were like, so what do you make? And I was like, who the fuck are you? Like, really?
I feel like that, all right.
Like, dude,
that's a fair point.
You caught me off guard, and I was like, I remember I went home, and I think I may have talked to my mom. And I'm like, Ma, didn't you teach me like never to ask what people make? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, did that change in life?
So is that cool now?
Right? Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna do my best to answer you, John. People I work with, like, that are in the same company. I remember you saying something about that, and I forget what it was. But it's usually like, if I feel, I don't know. I don't know why I asked in that situation.
But I've heard you do it a number of times where we're together.
But I feel like I'm always in a position where it's I'm using air quotes, okay to ask. I don't know why. And
I was taught it was never okay to ask. So, like,
when we started, we really wanted to have pay transparency, and everyone knows what everyone else makes. And we were pretty certain that we were going to do that for the first year. And then we got our first employee, and we were like, yeah, we're not doing that shit.
No.
But so part of me still really wants to. Like,
my wife's old company had that, and she was like, she saw how much she was making and then how little. She's like, and my wife's not like this. She's like, so Susie's on like eBay all day, and why am I working till midnight? Like, and she makes this. I'm like, how is that public information?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible?
Going back, I'm going to go back to my original point. This is what I struggle with, and I can't comment. I don't know why I asked John, like, but I think it's separate from what my thought is here. And my thought is that, when we hire people, we're hiring based on the month and a half that you sat down with that kid, and that you went through this process and valued where they were. And and in my opinion, it's never in comparison to anyone else in the company. It's about what they bring, what value they bring to the table, and putting them in a position where, maybe it's a financial position that they need to be in you're basically doing it to bring them into the company, or you feel as though the value is there. And I feel the chitter chatter amongst people, and I've seen it in my company and working for people. I feel like that chitter chatter, it's just so narrow minded in the sense that, they're judging someone else for making too much or too little, but they don't know what that's based on. I feel like I'm doing a bad job explaining it, but
I mean, realistically, there should be factors to pay other than just what somebody's bringing to the table for the job too, depending on somebody's circumstance, maybe this is unfair, but like who they're supporting, what their situation is. I would say that somebody who's 40 years old trying to provide for a family versus somebody who's 17, even if they have the same capacity at work, like maybe you should be paying another person more money because they need like the financial, they need that security, and that may not be right or wrong, but there's just because somebody has the exact same skill set as you doesn't mean that they need to be paid the same amount or should be paid the same amount.
But it's
100% disagree. Like that just means you should pay the 17-year-old more. That just means that if they have the same skill set, you're underpaying the 17-year-old just because one person has more responsibilities or baggage. I think they should both be paid equal if their skill sets.
They get like a wedding bonus, or if they got a puppy. How does this work?
I mean, personal opinion. I mean,
no,
it's hard to do.
Chase, what kind of puppy?
I would agree with you, but I think what my point is that that 17-year-old, if he's judging, say he's looking at the 40-year-old that has more responsibility and he gets paid more, but he knows that he's bringing the same to the table, and he is he doesn't know. I just feel like it's way more in depth than like, hey, I have the same skill set, or my skill set's the exact same as that 40-year-old. It's like maybe what you see, but what I see is that he brings this to the table.
I mean, it's also the same thing that like if that person's in that same job and that's the best that they can do and they're peaking at that position, for me, I would be willing to pay them more than somebody who's just getting into this, even if their skill set's the same. Like maybe they both have the same capacity, but the 40-year-old person's putting twice as much effort in because it just doesn't come so easily to them. I don't think that the pay scale necessarily has to be just based on their output. I mean, it could be attitude.
Oh, absolutely.
It could be
communication and reliability and so many factors that are huge. But I'm just saying apples to apples.
Sure.
If they're the same person, it's not fair to, I mean, and it is hard, like getting somebody who's young and really, really good at the top pay. Like, where do I go from here? Well, bad news, bub. You're maxed out, like how? But like, I don't know. I feel like that's why Matt and I left that company, because we were at the ceiling and like there was nowhere to go, and like, okay, like we're not making enough here, and we're bringing in more to this company than we can take out, because at the time I think I was early, maybe 30 years old, maybe. But yeah, it's hard. It's tricky.
I think it's like hockey reference. It's like Tyler Seguin got drafted and he was like 18, went to the Bruins and won the Stanley Cup the first year. It's like, bro, some of these people, like Ray Bourque took forever to win the Stanley Cup, and then he just doesn't understand what the challenge is to get to that point. I think that someone young, they're going to be hungry if they want to move up as fast as they want. It's like the kid that came to me, he called me like a couple days before he started, and he's like, hey, is there like a review process every 6 months? I'm like, everything's a test. No, I was like, no, just I'm going to keep an eye on you. If it's 3 months, if it's 6 months, if you start grabbing more and more stuff, I'm just going to tell you, it'll be super casual. It'll be like, hey, by the way, you're going to notice this in your pay going forward.
All the time.
I don't want you to be like, oh, I got to do good for this next 6 months, because I've also found that people have this really good job of being phenomenal during the honeymoon period. And then they totally slack off. And that slack off period could be 3 times as long as the honeymoon period. Yeah. And how do you break them of that is a nightmare.
I don't even know if it's slacking off as much as like, the rose is kind of off the bloom at that point. That newness and that honeymoon has kind of subsided, and at this point it's work again. And I think that people, you know, they're not as excited to show up every day, and they lose that initiative and that incentive and that drive to show up, and it's not new anymore. I don't even know if it's not like it's intentional or anything like that, but I feel like you do have to get through those first few months, because the first few months everything's great.
Yeah.
True. I also think it's different than a desk job for us, is that, you know, at 6 months or 12 months in, they're probably looking at a different landscape for projects. So whether it's a different phase of a project, and it's always a moving target, which it benefits us in our industry, you know? I mean, Chase, some of the guys, it's weird for you. I mean, the guys installing get to be on a new adventure. They're on a new site, get the cabinetry. Yeah. It's like a Lego set, like when you're a kid, kind of pulling that all together. The guys in the shop, I mean, I would love to know how you keep that, you know, romance going.
Yeah, it's funny. People in the shop just vibe really well together. I feel like everyone enjoys each other. There's no like.
Is it music?
It's yeah. But it's weird how little conflict there is. Like it's really Bono nonstop. It's weird how well everyone gets along. It's really nice. Yeah.
Weed's legal in California. Do you guys drug test?
MS.
No, we don't. But
if you're stoned, you're fired.
We have let people go for obviously coming to work stoned before. Like, wait, how do you know that I'm stoned? But well, you just ask how I name my dog. I'm pretty sure I know you're stoned, man.
Is it an issue if they're stoned and doing their work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
okay.
I mean, it's safety. Yeah, for sure.
Got real serious all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, we don't tolerate that while you're at work at all.
What, you know, I think you started talking about it like Instagram and things like that, but what, you know, beyond that, who are you looking for as like a general type of person? You know, are you more reaching out to other cabinet makers that have been in the industry, or are you looking for, are you genuinely looking for people that just want to be in this industry?
I think, I mean, just passionate people in general. Like, I would hire an apprentice who knew nothing but was a passionate, driven person. You know, if it hasn't happened, but if I saw somebody at the coffee shop who was just like enjoying the flow state of work, no matter what that job is, that's the kind of person that I want to be around. You know, I'd rather myself just talk to a passionate person than somebody who's the best in their field and just a dial tone. You know, just passion is palpable, and it does wear off to the people that you're around. So I don't care if an apprentice has never even seen a screw before, but wants to work here and is a driven, passionate person. Like, you're hired. Absolutely. But as far as like our main people, it's really hard, because you guys know you'll get people who come in and they're like, I know how to build a house or a cabinet or a roof or whatever. And just completely have no idea the league at which you're operating. Like, you're doing stuff that's so beyond what they've seen or done before, where it's like, I thought I knew how to make a cabinet, but wow, I'm wrong, you know? So the whole, like, how do I find experience? Like, I don't trust that anyone knows how to do what we're doing. Like, but are you able to learn? Can you take instruction? You know, we've hired people who are older than me who cannot listen to people younger than them, and it just hasn't worked at all, because you're not able to learn and grow. And it's not like, I'm not insulting you by saying that we need to do this different, but this is the way we have to do this. And I know there are different ways, but this is the right way if you work here. So I don't really trust anyone that says, like, I have this experience and I've built this and here's some photos and I used to work at this shop. Like, okay, you're probably sufficient, but like, you're going to have to learn a lot to keep up with everyone else here. Absolutely.
It's funny because I would never go, I feel like I'm always undervaluing myself and selling myself short. I would never go to a job interview and try and basically set a bar higher for myself than I was, because I feel like once you're in, if you get hired at that point, you basically set yourself up to either
For failure,
get bust,
you know?
yeah, failure, or like I just can't imagine that people go in there like, yeah, well, you know, I have this much experience and I can do this, especially when you know who you're going to work for or getting hired. I feel like I would preface all of that by almost undervaluing my skill set, and then hopefully at that point coming in and being like, oh, you know what, you're better than we had anticipated.
Absolutely.
You're further ahead than we had thought. That kind of just blows my mind.
That's just such a more fun conversation to have, you know, like, hey man, great news, more money, here you go.
You're actually not as terrible as you led on to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's
rather
so fun when that
than
happens.
like you have no clue what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many horror stories, but like one of the guys who swore that he was the best, you know, went to sharpen every chisel in the shop and like put a bevel, like put a slight on the grinding wheel, just put the back of the chisel on the grinding wheel, and like a back of the chisel has to be dead flat. It's your reference. So like every chisel in the shop he ruined. Like, oh boy, this is fun.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
So do you think, obviously you've been doing this on your own for a while, have you progressed a ton in your ability, not necessarily a business owner, but from like a cabinetry fabrication execution standpoint since going off on your own? Or do you think that you learned a lot of this from your own company or from working for this past company?
It's such a good question. So it's weird, man. I still see myself as a cabinet maker, an employee of a cabinet shop. I'll feel really unproductive most days because I didn't make anything. I wasn't in the shop because I still picture my job as maker, and I have a really hard time transitioning into facilitator or manager or whatever I do. So I tie a lot of my work expectation into fabrication, where I just don't really have the time to do that anymore. So that's really hard. But our old shop was really good with most of their methods, but a lot of the stuff that we do here, like we set kickboxes. I think that we're the only ones that set kickboxes this way around here. But it's because we were asked to do a job where the contractor was like, I'm going to laser this kitchen when you're done. And this cabinet 16 feet over here has to match this cabinet 16 feet over here. And if you can't do that, let me know before the job starts. And I was like, no, we can absolutely do that. And then got the job and I was like, how the fuck do we do that? So I figured out like how to set your kickboxes with the laser that he was going to use to set everything, and worked our way up from the boxes up to the cabinets. And like those little challenges are so much fun to like always try to be a better maker, fabricator, or whatever your job is. Like how can I do this a little bit better? And that quest, like if you're really enjoying what you're doing, that quest just never ends. Like it's never like, I'm done now. I'm complete. Yeah. Like that never stops. Like you always are looking for a way to do better.
So you think that you were able to take what you learned at the last shop and you're just continually evolving and kind of moving forward and taking it to the next level?
I hope so. Yeah. I it's weird. Like I had a meeting with a contractor on one of the most high-end jobs that we've ever been a part of. We're on right now. And this guy's built, 1,000 homes. He's about, he's probably not going to be building that many more houses. He's done it. He's been there. This is like the highest end job that anyone that works on this house will ever work on. It's up there. And I have a meeting with him, the contractor in charge of the job, the designers. And he's like, well, Chase, you're the expert. How do you do this? And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just a guy that builds boxes. But like, yeah. It's just because I haven't realized, like, I do know what I'm doing, and it's not like a false humility. It's not like I just legitimately picture myself as some guy that puts boxes together and facilitates other people to do the same thing. Yeah, it is weird having to realize that like I kind of do know what I'm doing a little bit, and again, not at all in a cocky way, but yeah, it is weird hearing other people say that for sure.
So
especially,
how do you think you are getting there at this point? Because I feel like it's very difficult once you're getting to that top tier and you have your own company, right? So now you have your own network. You're not on jobs with other cabinet makers. Do you have a network of people to run these questions by? Is it you and Matt that kind of put your heads together and figure this out? Is it people who are coming to work for you? How are you continually evolving, or are you making it up? Like, are you like, hey, this is the situation that we have. How are we going to get this done?
Yeah. There is like a brain trust of people who I feel like I could call and ask questions. And some of those are just people from Instagram. Like, I won't name names, but some of those are people from Instagram who I feel like have done the same puzzles that we're facing before and know how to do them successfully. But a lot of it is like just similar problems that you faced in the past. You know, like there's no new problems that exist. It's just a combination of two other ones that you've already been through, or a few other ones, or you know, a new material or a new process. But there's no like new problems to overcome. Like they've all been faced before. So find somebody who's done it, or use what you've done before to work your way through it.
So why can't anyone do it?
I think to really, I think a lot of people could. A lot of people that DM me from, you know, Missouri that have a small shop and don't get to do those super fun jobs because that money and that clientele and that expectation isn't there. I don't think that they couldn't do it. I don't think that any of them couldn't do what we're doing. We're just in an area that has that money and those expectations. I think that those skills are translatable and learnable. And I think that a lot of people are super passionate about learning them. Like that's obvious. This show wouldn't exist if that wasn't the case, but it's just where the market is.
So they probably just never had the luxury of coming across those jobs that are putting them in a position to figure those details out or actually execute at that level. Because I feel the same way. Like I don't have super high-end work and I don't have super high-end jobs, but people are always saying like, I wish that I could work on a job like that, or we could execute at that level. And if you were afforded the time and the money to do that, it's just effort at that point, right? It's planning, it's forethought, and then it's actually following through. But I don't feel that there's certain complexities of our jobs and what we do, but I think that most of what we do is having the foresight and the wherewithal to plan and build that on paper and see any potential issues, pitfalls, site constraints beforehand, and then being able to follow through and execute. But I don't think that it's necessarily super difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it's having experienced those issues before, like what I said before about like, do you feel like, we ask people in the review process, do you feel like you have opportunities to make mistakes? I've made all those mistakes. Like the only way I know how to do what I do is because I've done it wrong 1,000 times. Right. And like, until you are able to make those mistakes a lot, like you're never going to do it well the first time. You know, your method for prepping a site and prepping the work and the drawings and the schedule is all because you've done it wrong, you know? Do
you think, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. I
can't
retain these thoughts that long. Do you think, so you said that you've made these mistakes 1,000 times. How old are you?
38.
38. All right. So you more than likely, you've made these mistakes. You've made 1,000 mistakes. You've made 2,000 mistakes. Do you feel as though you're continually making the same mistakes, or you retain those mistakes and you learn that? Because I also feel myself personally, I'm not the type of person to make the same mistake 2-3 times. So it's I've made thousands of mistakes, but not necessarily the same over and over. Because you have to have a pretty quick learning curve to get where you are in 5 years of your own company or at 38 years old.
Yeah. So I do say all the time, a mistake's only a mistake if you've done it twice. I don't feel in the same thing about it's your responsibility to make mistakes, but obligation to learn from them. I don't feel like many of these things are happening twice. Of course, stuff gets mismeasured or a note mistranscribed and something goes wrong. A few times a year, we'll have a cabinet get to site and be like, why is this 8 inches from where it's supposed to be? Of course that happens. But for the most part, those things are done once and then fixed for sure.
Yeah. I think every job that I do, when I'm going through in like the planning stages and I'm accounting for every mistake that I've ever made, and you have that fear going into it that like the mistake that you made that you forgot about is going to be the one that's going to come back to bite you, because the list keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it's like, I feel like I get slower and slower because every job that I go into, there's something else that I'm trying to not run into again like I did last time. So when I first do a bathroom and I first do a kitchen, there's nothing that I need to worry about because I haven't made any mistakes before. And then you make that first mistake, and the next kitchen's going to be a little bit slower because you're going to make sure not to make that mistake again. Yeah. And at this point now, it's like, I got to remember 1,000 things going into this job that I don't screw up, that I've screwed up before. And which one are you not going to forget? When I
forget to double check or just assume something will be fine, one of those things that I know I need to be cognizant of, just the whole project, I'll have like this overwhelming fear in the back of my mind. Overwhelming is an exaggeration, but this thought in the back of my mind, like, I never double checked that the fireplace was centered on the wall. I should probably have double checked that or whatever. And like the whole time until we get to install, I'm just like, come on, baby. Be centered on the sheetrock.
I swear I do that. It's the same thing.
Yeah. That feeling is just always there. And you know when you forget something, like I should drive back to site and double check, but that's half my day to do that. I'm just going to trust that they did it right.
I'll go and measure for stuff too, and then I'm going to leave, and then I'm like, no, I need to go get one more measurement. I forgot this.
Always one more.
Right, and then it's a very critical measurement, and it's almost nonchalant. Like, well, I just need to go grab this one more thing, and then if I would have ordered that or made that, it would have been completely wrong. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I was gonna get that the whole time anyway. But it's like, that would have way wrong.
I started with notes on paper, and now I video and photograph every site measurement. And like, even if I forget to check the windowsill, like I'm just like, I could pause the video when my tape measures over that, when I'm doing a different measurement. Like, yeah.
There's so many variables that go into it. I feel like when you get to that level and when everything's supposed to be intentional and there's really not much room for error. And I don't know. I was going to ask you why this work, why this line of work, why this pressure, why these contractors, because you could probably make more money doing other things. But like those type of jobs, those details, that's what makes me tick, right? It's sorting them out. It's watching that come to fruition. It's seeing all of that planning and forethought and coordination come together, right? Like that's what does it for me.
My favorite projects are the ones we get drawings for, and I bid it, and it's in framing, and in 6 months we'll be there site measuring, and the entire 6 months before I measure, I have to think about while I'm driving or while driving is my zone out time. I have to think about while I'm driving or showering or whatever, like, how am I going to do that one particular area? Yeah. Like, I don't know how to make that shelf notch over the thing just right. Like, it just consumes me until I figure it out. Like, those puzzles are so much fun to figure out.
Yeah, I feel like that's what drives, especially in our side of it too. It's like when we're building and doing the millwork, it's always the intricacy And, you know, it's every job we go into, it's like, that's an awesome detail. I have no idea how I'm going to figure it out.
Yep.
But we're going to.
Yeah. And it's going to feel so good.
And, you know, we just completed this bathroom and it had this wood slat wall in front of this glass wall panel. And I remember seeing the detail and seeing how complex it was in the drawings. And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I don't even know how to put a number to making sure I have time in there for it. So I'm just going to throw something at the wall. And all the way through the process, you know, we sat down as a team. It was just, I mean, we probably burned 100 hours, you know, just kind of mulling it over and drawing it on the whiteboard over and over. And it's, you know, it was one of the last things we put in on the job. And when it went together and we all stood back, I'm like, man, I remember when it was just like a line drawing and, hey, do you want to price this job? Wow. And it's like to reference that and then see the completion. I mean, that's so gratifying in what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I was late to get on the podcast. I'm like looking at plans for a staircase that somebody wants to add, and like the way that the architect has it drawn, it's like a pretty standard builder's grade detail. And I'm like, I just don't feel like that should terminate right there. And I'm like trying to figure out how this transition should be for the railing to where the stairs tying into the opening and everything else. And I'm like looking at pictures, and then I have out stair catalogs, and like I don't even have the job. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But I'm like, and then I'm looking at I'm looking up all of these like Instagram, and so many people do it wrong. And then I'm like in my staircase, which is 100 years old, and like looking, it's curved, but looking how everything transitions and how would that transition if it weren't curved, the way that the skirt's going to tie into like the trim around the stair opening. And I'm like, everyone just does that wrong right now. Mm-hmm. And that's the little stuff that like, I don't know. I probably spent 2 hours sitting at my desk today just trying to sort that out, because like, I don't necessarily need that to bid it. And it's one of those things that I can more than certainly get in there and figure out, and probably be way easier than trying to visualize it in my head. But I just like, I get stuck on stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm going to sort this out.
It's funny that you say everyone does it wrong, because it's true. It's especially like I think about staircases and curves, and because we've done, you know, we're doing that one now. And it's like, you look at inspiration. It's like, yeah, the staircase is great looking, but the way it connects to everything around it, there was no thought.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, we're just going to do this curved staircase, and then it's going to just hit a flat ceiling and have this awkward like jog in it, where it's like, why didn't you plan that out so it swooped around? And that's one of the hardest details we've been trying to figure out on this one. It got to a point where we were just like, there's no figuring this out until we build it.
Yeah.
And
it ends up being like they're two separate entities, right? So like my issue is the staircase and how it's tying into the opening and the handrails. And every one that I look at, except for when you look at like the higher end, well-designed stuff, it's like there was an opening and then somebody put a staircase in there.
Right.
And like, I feel like all of those trim details and all of the skirt and everything should all be integral, and it should like blend and flow into the staircase. And like, yeah, I could just frame an opening and throw a set of stairs in there, or like frame a wall and then have the rail die into the ceiling, or like, and I'm like, every single staircase I look up looks like that. And you have to go back to like the old photos, and even on mine where like they have the skirt come up and there's a beading, and then it transfers and wraps around into basically that mimicked in plaster around my stairs. But like, it's all one piece. It doesn't look like stairs were added to an opening. Mm-hmm. And I guess a lot of people don't do that. You know, they don't put that time into it. There's a frame, there's a framers, and then somebody's coming and setting stairs. And I want to avoid that if possible.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that makes me tick, which is probably similar to
those puzzles are fun, man. Yeah. Those puzzles are fun. Yeah. That's why I do it. Yeah, for sure. Puzzles are fun.
It's crazy too, because I think oftentimes we do this and we dwell over these things and invest all this time, where it's like, Tyler, you said it before, it's the client wouldn't care either way.
Yeah.
But that's not why you're doing this. You're not doing it to satisfy the client. You're doing it to satisfy yourself.
For sure.
And, you know, I think, Chase, to your reference to the guy in, Missouri, it's like, yeah, he doesn't have the clientele for it. So maybe he feels as though he's battled with, well, I have to get this done for a certain price point. I can't think this out. I'm just going to drop the stair in the opening, where it's like, challenge that. It's like, all right, well, you can still put the forethought doesn't, if you're working for yourself, the forethought is just like you said, your driving time, your shower time. It's like thinking those details through, and there's an opportunity to still execute something at a higher level if it's just if it's more thoughtful and intentional.
It's so true.
Chase,
hey Bob,
what about your hobbies? Let's talk dirt bikes.
Dude, I think I'm gonna go Friday. I think we're gonna take the day off Friday. My first day off this year.
Are you getting a dirt bike?
I got one. I've had one for like a year. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't know. I maybe you were the one who convinced me to go for it. I don't know.
So fun, man. It's therapy, man. It's just like not thinking about anything for however long you're there. It's therapy. Yeah, you need it. We need it.
What you rode growing up?
Yeah, but I didn't ride from like after high school until last year. So for quite a while, I didn't ride at all.
And when you were growing up, it was just like something to do, or were you serious?
Oh, no. Yeah, it was just my dad's way of hanging out with me. Yeah, for sure.
Which is pretty much the same thing as me. And then right around high school, they really started cracking down on where you could ride, and you couldn't ride on public land. It was only private land, so you had to know somebody, and it just got to be a hassle. So it was the same thing from 17, 18 until recently. It was just out of sight, out of mind, never did it. And then I feel like maybe I saw you, and then you're sending me stuff. Then I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to go buy a dirt bike.
I've got land now. Let's do this.
Right. And then I like went out and bought Selby one.
That's so fun, man.
But I don't have a sweet dirt bike like you.
Those will be the best memories of her childhood.
Yeah, dude, I just got her a new helmet. She's like, can you give me pink goggles now? I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Got you goggles. I'm like, all right, I ordered them. I have to
That's
tell
awesome.
Rachel because it's going on the personal card. I haven't had to tell Rachel about anything that I purchased because everything has been written off through my company.
Yeah.
Except for this, I'm like, I don't think I could be putting Suzuki dirt bike through my company.
Probably not.
But I'm
Probably
like
not.
hey, I put this on the personal card. I hadn't had to tell her what I put on the personal credit card and who knows how long. But I'm like, this is all going on the personal credit card because I have her pay that stuff now.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to come out and ride with you because you have
Please
a
do.
spare dirt bike.
Please do. It'll be so fun. Yeah, so I bought mine and I couldn't ever go because my wife doesn't want me to go alone, obviously, which is smart. But, one of my friends was like, I'll get one. And it just never happened. So I was like, I'm just going to buy another bike and you're going to come with me because I'm sick of not being able to go.
And you found people to ride with now?
Yeah. Now we have a little crew.
How do you hook up with them?
My buddy's friends, essentially. It's a short answer.
I was actually going to start texting you videos. So I went out. I hooked up with some guy who lives in New York City, but he keeps his bike down at his father-in-law's.
Oh, I saw that this weekend.
Like a block over from me, crazy enough. And he was sending me videos from this weekend. I guess he had on a GoPro on his helmet. But I was about to text them to you.
Yeah, I feel like there's been one time when I really wanted to I have a GoPro, but it's not set up. Have it set up when my buddy and it took us 4 hours to get 13 miles just because it was the hardest, like most hills and rocks and everything that we've ever been on. And we're just like laying down in the middle of the trail, just like, oh my God, how are we doing this? That would have been the best 4-hour GoPro video. Just like two grown men in defeat.
Dude, that's what we were out for like 3 or 4 hours this weekend, and I don't know, he was tracking something on his phone. He has all the gadgets, and he's like, yeah, so we went about 13 miles, and we actually only have about an hour of riding time. And I was like, I thought it was way more than that.
Yeah, it feels like it.
We definitely went 90 miles.
Yeah, it feels like your 8 hours to first oil change or whatever. I'm like, my first day, I'm like, oh, I'm probably there. I look at my odometer, it's like 1.4 hours. I'm like, God damn.
I'm gonna change the oil anyway. I feel like on the podcast multiple times, everyone's like, do you have a hobby? And I don't. I mean, I enjoy getting tattooed, like tattoo culture, reading about tattoos, looking at tattoos, but I don't consider that a hobby. It's not something I do myself, and I always enjoyed riding. I enjoyed riding street bikes, like once I got to the age to get my license, and then it just got way too scary and dangerous, and I had kids and everything else. And this was like the compromise that I could tell myself that would be relatively safe. And so far, it's been a lot of fun. I feel like my mind is not 100% occupied with work all the time, probably because you're sending me Instagram messages with dirt bikes right now. But it's been nice to have something, other than work on my mind.
It is nice for sure
to write off like a day to just go do something for myself.
Right. Yeah, it's a luxury for sure. And it's therapy. It sure is. Everyone needs that. Nick, what's your thing?
I struggle with it, man. We've talked about this similar to Tyler, and I think, cars were always my thing. I would always be working on cars or trucks or building something. And I haven't had the time to do it since I've had kids. And, I have a truck that I'm working, a guy's helping me finish it. And I have an old C10 pickup, and it's something that just recently I've been, starting to work on it myself, where it's like, why am I going to have someone do this? I used to build this stuff. Like I could take this truck apart and put it back together myself. And it's, I'm sitting here paying some guy down the street to fix, an oil pump on it. Or an alternator. It's like, so I think that's, I want to get back into that, because it's similar. It's like, I feel like I'm just consumed by work and what I'm doing and the growth of the company, and it, it's a struggle. My wife and I bought a little log cabin as an escape. Wow. So that it's nice. And, I think I was telling Tyler, I want to get the kids 4-wheelers for the yard, because we have the room. I don't think my son will get on one, but my daughter definitely will.
That's awesome.
So it's something that I've considered.
How old
maybe
are your kids?
4 and 2.
Okay, and which one's older?
Marley, my daughter, is older.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so she's 4, and I just think it would be just super fun to have that, and obviously get one and be able to ride with her. So other than that, it's like, I think previously on another podcast, I was like, I guess going to the gym, but it's like, that's not really my hobby.
But what's your time to shut off and focus on something that's not what's all consuming all the time? That's the real question, I think. Like, how do you disassociate from
and I don't
constant overwhelming shit?
And I don't think I have that yet. And it's, like we bought the log cabin. It was like designed to be an escape, and it's like I go there and it's like boom.
How's the Wi-Fi? Up that Wi-Fi. I need emails. I got to do some business emails.
They're like, what are we gonna do to the log cabin? Or I could bring my tools up here.
Well, that's what it's not even work. I don't bring my work stuff. It's immediately into a project, and I'm like, let's move the kitchen over here. Let's put a dormer off the back so we can see the backyard. And I'm like, why can't I shut this off?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I rent. We have a mandatory, the whole company shuts down for July 4th. Everyone takes a vacation. I rented an excavator and built a backyard. Then I blew up the excavator and I didn't finish the backyard. So it's like, and it was just, it consumed my whole week. And my wife's like, you didn't even, like, you literally didn't relax.
You only ate one hot dog, Nick. Yeah.
No, I ate plenty of food. But it's something I think I struggle with, and I think a lot of people struggle with, is just actually having that, something that like actually disconnects you. And that's why I went back to your original thing, talking about having this spiritual and, kind of coming, a realization of how, work was, everything. And, I struggle with that back and forth, and really making an effort to make more time for myself and my family. And making some, making decisions in my life that, attribute to that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be something in your life that pulls harder than the need or the want to provide or run your business or be successful. It's really hard when you have two choices and one's like, well, I'm not going to be lazy, I'm going to provide, or I'm going to get this paperwork submitted, or get these cabinets ordered or built for this job, or I'm going to go set up this meeting, where you feel like you're providing and you feel like you're doing the right thing and you don't feel like a lazy turd. You really need something on the other hand, if it's a hobby, if it's a passion aside from work. It can't be like, well, work is my passion, work is my hobby, I'm going to buy a tool because that's what I like. I did that for a long time, and like all of my hobbies were all of my money was going towards everything work related. So like what I thought was enjoyable was still work related. Yeah. And I need something in my life that's strong, that pulls either equal or a little bit stronger, where it's like, you know what, I'm going to get off the podcast and go sit and read some articles on like tuning suspension, rather than email people back for work and be like, screw it, like I'll email them tomorrow, whatever.
And I think that's where the cars come in, is that I haven't had the opportunity to do it. And now, I'm starting to focus on it more. It's like the truck that I've been building forever. It's, eventually I want that thing to be done, and I want to, compete with it, bring it to the cross track, and, and race it around the track and bring it to, car show. Like that was always my thing. It was always
How fast
cars.
do you think you can get to New Jersey
in that thing? 2 hours.
What if you have 2 4-wheelers and a dirt bike on back?
I don't know if I'm gonna have a trailer hitch on that thing.
And some dirt bikes. Chase, did you do anything with your suspension yet?
Nah, I need to.
Nothing. It's stock.
Yeah.
She didn't adjust it at all.
I haven't even drained the forks yet. Haven't even bled them.
I just bought springs for my rear, and I was going to buy springs for my front, but I opted out of doing it because they didn't have the size that I needed, and I was going for the convenience factor of ordering both at the same time.
Yeah, there's a racing suspension place here that everyone's like, just go take it to them, give them $1,000, and just go get your bike back next week.
Because they'll do all the valving and all that stuff for you too.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do one day. But my bike's just so good. Like it's just amazing, man. It doesn't need anything for what I know how to do.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where I don't know. It's been so long since I've ridden, and at this point, I don't have like a super high performance bike that like I don't know how much I'm going to be in tune with these small, minor adjustments. But I also feel like maybe these aren't so minor. Like there's definitely an undersized spring on my bike for my size. Yeah. Which I feel like at that point,
I'll ride the Kawasaki. So Nick, I have a KTM, which is just like the best, and then I have a Kawasaki that I bought half the price. Still brand new, but like half the price, and just like not as nice of a bike. I'll ride the Kawasaki, Tyler, and it's just like, this is a piece of garbage comparatively.
Yeah, I'm intentionally not riding any super nice bikes until I'm like, because I will straight up go out and just be like, all right, buying another one.
Yeah, put this in the trash can. Give me that Husky.
I'm also like excited because the bike I have, it's street legal, and it's also like the technology on it's very dated. They haven't changed in about 20 years, and like that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted low maintenance. The dirt bikes like you have are like dirt bikes where there's a ton of maintenance on them, and I just don't want that right now.
Annoying. Yeah.
But like, I'm super pumped when I get to that point that I'm gonna basically shed 80 pounds off my bike, and be like, I'm riding a BMX bike now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna get back into it on this heavy thing that I'm riding through sand and single track, and then I'm gonna hop on like basically a child's bike,
right,
with 450 cc's, 500 cc's,
whipping it around.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
So come out next week.
You got nowhere to go.
Everything's on fire, man. Yeah. We're if the smoke's better and the park's open, we're gonna go out on Friday. But
so they closed everything down.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty toxic to breathe outside right now.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And where did they start this time?
Oh, the ones nearest us were just lightning thunderstorm. And Napa, and then just north of us in like the Russian River Valley. Yeah. And there's some south in Santa Cruz, and there's some in East Bay. Yeah. They're just all over, man. It's sad. One of the contractor on our main job lost his house. It got burnt down. I called him. I felt so bad. I was like, hey, did you get that door sample or whatever? And he's like, Chase, I lost my house last night. And I'm like, why don't you go take care of that?
Oh, God.
Yeah,
wow.
really rough. I wanted to set up a GoFundMe for him, but he asked me not to ask people for money for him. But God, I just feel so bad. I want to help people with like that are going through that stuff. It's rough.
Yeah, I feel like it's just been like hit after hit after
tragedy
hit out
after
there.
tragedy. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I just can't imagine. Like, I can't even imagine being there. Like, it's just constantly burning.
It's the thing. Like, people that live in Tornado Alley or where the hurricanes are, you're just like, why would you choose to live there? Like, that's what this is becoming. Like, that's what California is becoming. Like, it's a fire every year, and it. Like, why don't you move?
Right.
It's becoming. Yeah.
What's your thought with that? If do you think you would actually think about relocating?
I don't think we can with the business where it's at. Like, we can't do what we're doing. And I mean, what areas like this that we could go to? I heard there's a guy in Boston already. I don't know, where do we go? What do we do?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, do you move to the city?
It's cheaper now. Everyone's moved out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what we do. I don't know like what area is impervious to this,
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how things change from a construction standpoint.
Mm.
I've seen articles like, fireproof homes.
I just got asked today to bid a resort in a place that's burnt down 4 years in a row. They want to build one resort and then build like a bunch more, but after the first one's done. And I'm like, why? Like,
right.
Why there? Why are you doing that? It's like just right in the middle of where all the fires have been. They're wanting to build a new thing. Like, come on, guys. I don't know. I don't get it.
How is the economy? I mean, obviously there's insurance claims and everything else, but that's got to be a pretty long, drawn out process recouping that. Like, how is everyone rebounding back from this, or are they not?
Yeah, such a good question. I think a lot of people that I know personally that have lost homes, like, took the insurance money and moved to Montana or wherever. Like, they're just like, yeah, we're done here. I think if you go through that tragedy, like, you don't want to do that again.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Like in the same area, same place. I don't know. I think if we lost our apartment, ?
What if your dirt bike burnt down?
Okay, yeah, valid question. If we lost the shop, it would be really hard to want to redo it.
Yeah.
Like, let's start again.
Why? Like, what is the reason for making it hard to want to?
it's just so much time in the past 5 years it took to, well, not
Sure.
even five, like before we started, 2 years before this business started, we were working to be able to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
Just a decade of our lives just gone, and we have to start over again. I don't know. That'd be hard. It'd be hard to like want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can imagine, and I feel like the hardest part, after all this happens, like, and it continues to happen year after year, at what point are people going to start throwing their arms up and being like, okay, enough is enough. Like, we're not going to rebuild. It's not going to end anytime soon. What's the next option? I know near us, so we'll have hurricanes that come down and destroy the shore towns, and it's like, I feel like it takes years and years and years for everything to get back to normal, just in time for another storm to come and hit and take everything out again. And it gets to the point for me, it's like, why do we keep building here? It's not sustainable. Whatever we're doing is not working at this point.
Yeah,
That's a big question. Like,
it is. And,
I mean,
it's hard to even think about that without thinking about like what's causing those things and actually addressing that. But go on with what you were about to say.
similar in the sense that, like, we keep building in these places that keep getting destroyed by something that we very much almost can't control. Fires and hurricanes and storms. It's like, maybe, in whatever you believe in, right? Maybe there's something greater that's saying, hey guys, like, cut the shit, take that somewhere else. Like, this area isn't for you. I don't know. It's the way you phrase that, Tyler, made me kind of think of it just as a, something greater than just, the shore, right? It's just not designed to support our desires.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've just abused everything for so long, and kind of taken advantage, and everyone's just in it for themselves, take, and there's not much conservation and protection at this point, that I think, everything's weakened, and it takes less and less for these things to happen. I think that that's a much bigger discussion and a much bigger issue. But I don't really know what it's going to even just from like an economic standpoint. California, like where you're working, is a pretty affluent area, and people can afford this stuff, but it's going to get to a point where insurance companies and everyone else, like, we're not going to keep putting out money for this to happen. Like, and even how many times do you want to build the same house? Like, it's got to be disappointing for you to see your work burn down, right? Like, how much time how much time you spent doing something and it just burns down again. And that's not even your home.
We just finished one that was a duplicate of something we did 3 years ago in Napa for a house that burnt down. Yeah, but like, to me, I theirs is the tragedy. Me having to remake some stuff is not a tragedy, for sure.
No, but still, to see that's your work. You put a lot of effort into that. Somebody hired you to do that. They appreciated what you did and loved what you did. And making it again is not sweat off your back, but at the same time, like, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Yeah. But like, these things weren't, the people around here that talk about it that grew up here, is like, these things would happen once every 10 years, but now it's 4 in a row. And like, the changes that are causing them, we are in control of. Like, this is climate change happening. We're watching it. Yeah. So the bigger picture is like, how do our day-to-day decisions affect those things? That's where my mindset is kind of it with these things. Like,
I mean, it's got to be compounding it, right? If you were basically scrambling to rebuild what was lost more than twice as fast, like an insane amount, like levels faster than the way it was built in the first place, using natural resources and everything else. And I mean, I feel like it's going to continue to exponentially compound itself.
Yeah.
The problem is right where you are, especially.
Yeah, it's true.
Which sucks.
Yeah. People live here because it's just gorgeous, but I don't know what the breaking point is for people to make them not want to live here anymore.
It is a nice area.
Yeah.
I
Got
feel
some
like
stuff.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area of the country. I mean, you have an ability to make a decent living. You have great jobs. I feel like there's so much to do in your entire. I know you don't want to go to Tahoe, but Tahoe's nice.
I just don't want to work there for a week.
But it's a shame, everything that's going on. I mean, I feel terrible for everyone. I feel like everyone's putting out efforts to try and rebuild things, and then you get some sort of normalcy and you're just getting smacked again while you're down.
It's so true. Yeah.
It's a bummer.
So true.
Well, it kind of stinks to end on such a sad note. But
you can tell us a joke, Nick.
I don't have any jokes.
All right, fine.
I had a joke, but you cut me off.
I thought we were gonna get Matt on. I'm pretty sure that Matt's made up.
He exists, man. I'm pretty sure
In your
I've seen him
mind?
before. Yeah, it's just have a doll named Matt.
I feel like I ask you all the time about Matt.
I've seen you
dude,
videos
you'll send
of
me like a
Matt.
blurry picture of the back of him, like
Loch Ness
in
Monster.
motion. Yeah, he's like the Jersey Devil.
I've seen you videos of him.
Is he just not into the
like-
social media side of it?
I don't think he spends a lot of time on his phone. Yeah.
He just has no desire for it.
He does. Like we did have a, we're not progressing enough to learning enough, and things were harder than they needed to be sometimes. So we did have a talk where it was like, let's spend, if you spend 5 minutes a day learning, watching, researching, whatever, that's a week a year. 5 minutes a day is 40 hours a year. So if we just take 5 minutes of our work day and watch a YouTube video, phone at work, let's do it. Let's learn how to do our job better. We did have a talk a while ago about being more intentional with learning. And he has been on his phone more, watching, certain people's stories and YouTube videos and stuff like that. So he does, but he's just not. I mean, what am I talking about? I'm not super into. Our Instagram's pretty lame right now, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, he's not as into it as I am. I'm not that into it. Yeah, I just send Tyler dirt bike videos and go to bed.
Pretty much. And you're up early. Because I feel like you start responding to my stories. It's a nice time range, because I feel like you're up early enough, and then I'm up late enough that we get a pretty long run going during the day.
We get a good 16 hours a day of same time.
I will say, anytime I send you a message, it's like you immediately reply. I'm like, is this thing? Like, do you have notification?
Matt actually runs the account, so you're probably talking to Matt.
He's like, you caught me on my 5 minute.
Dude, one of the best compliments I've ever got from somebody that we work with. There's a girl at the contracting company that we do a lot of work with that would call me like every single day or every single Friday for like 2 years. And like 2 years in, she gets my voicemail, and I call her like right back 3 minutes later. And she's like, I just realized that was the first time I've ever got your voicemail. Like, in 2 years of calling you every Friday. And like, I do try really, really hard to make myself available for the people that care, for work with us, and try to make people feel important through giving them my time when I can.
For sure. No, it's important.
Yeah.
Well, Chase, man, appreciate you hanging out.
Love you, dudes. Thank you for having me.
It's been a long time coming.
I know. I know that Nick was hesitant to have me on, because like
Why was I hesitant?
As soon as it came out, he was like, we'll get you on. And I was like, I'm going to teach you how to say drawings correctly.
Drawings.
And he was like, drawings?
Draw
He's
range.
like,
throw
okay,
an
you're not
R
going
in
to come
there.
on and talk about my what is accent? I don't think so.
I
Yeah.
completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
I was excited to have you on.
I know. What did Louis C.K. say? R.I.P. Louis. Boston's just Boston's not an accent. It's just an area where most people say words incorrectly.
Probably.
Yeah, sounds right.
It's all forced. They don't really talk like that.
They get off and they're
You
like,
know.
"Oh, finally, I can talk normal again."
Yeah, exactly. If you ever go anywhere with Nick, he doesn't talk like that.
I used to have a really bad accent, whatever you want to call it, but my wife whipped it out of me. She's like, if you're gonna do stories on Instagram and video, you need to drop the accent.
It's become much more non-regional. I will say that.
Yeah.
You lost your Missouri accent.
Best
I know my
compliment.
wife makes fun of me because I do say like a few words really weird, and she's like, "Pump the brakes."
What are they? What are
What
they?
did you say? I don't. I'll tell you via DM in 10 minutes.
When you ask her,
No, when I don't want to say it, man. I'm embarrassed.
are you going back to work after this?
No, I'm done, man. It's
Are you?
6. I'm gonna go get my dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the wife still working?
Yeah, dude, she's really lucky. She her company was like one of the first ones in California to like require people to stay home. So she's been work from home since like a month before California shut down. We're super fortunate.
And how long do they say?
Oh, they're not coming back before January, and in December they'll decide when they're actually going to come back.
Like
and it might be
reevaluate.
like a optional thing, so we'll see.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of companies are doing that, realizing the overhead of having an office and having people
So
come
much,
in is
yeah.
like doesn't even make sense.
Just because you don't trust that people are going to work.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you don't
It's
need
good.
that
You
accountability.
don't trust your employees, so
Right.
how do you have a business?
I heard a thing on Netflix this morning that they like have the most employee trust out of any company. Like they don't even need approval for expense reports. So like 3 years after it happened, they found out that this guy in Taiwan like submitted $100,000 travel expense report, and they just paid it and didn't even notice it for 3 years. So he was still working for the company.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Could you imagine if he spilled glue?
What if he would just be like, yeah.
I wish that I had those type of problems.
Is your dog
No,
underneath
I
you?
don't.
What's going on?
No, dude, I'm taking my boots off.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Tyler
Had
moves
boots
so
on all
much.
day.
He does like a million things when he's doing the
Antsy.
podcast. Yeah.
Antsy.
Yeah, I can't sit still for this long.
Yeah.
I just
Need
look
some ice
outside.
cream.
I'm like, yeah, I got stuff to do.
I get
You
it.
know, the day's never done.
I get it.
I got parts I got to install, springs.
On your bike? Yeah.
Somebody just lent me this thing for adjusting your sag, so you can do it yourself. Where like basically you put it on your bike, and then it's got like another mount on the handlebar and hooks up to your phone, so it'll measure everything for you, so you don't need like 3 people.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
pretty dope.
Wow. That's fancy. That's such a one-time use tool to like purchase and just
Yep.
own.
And
Right.
then
Weird.
I did not. He lent it to me. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
sweet.
Sweet.
I'm going to order a spring now so I can actually get this set once rather than do it twice like everything else in my life.
Attaboy.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah.
you too, man. And
Take
when
the rest of the
I
night
make
off,
it back
you know?
out there, I'll make more time for you to make
Bub,
sure we can get.
We're gonna hang out. It's
Oh,
gonna
I know.
happen.
Oh, I know.
You know that Chase and I went to a baseball game while we were out there, did you?
I didn't know
We
that.
did.
man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, CJ got us tickets.
Yeah, CJ came.
It was my first ever Giants game
Was it?
and only Giants game. Yeah.
I think it was my first too, but I'm not from out there, so
Yeah, that makes more sense.
it might have been my only as well then.
Yeah,
There you
that was
go.
fun, man. All right, dudes.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
guys.
brother.
Have a good night.
You too, man. Take
You
care.
too.
Dudes.
John had to dip out early. Hockey, right?
Yeah. Hockey game. What do we got
Hockey
here?
game?
I guess, right? Practice
I don't
game.
know. Practice game.
Either way, looks like we got one from last Friday. So he outstanding podcast with Patrick Ahern. I have admired Patrick's work for quite some time. He's the best. I have a new profound respect for him after the podcast. What an extraordinary human. Thank you for sharing tips, advice, and story. Highly recommend this podcast for anyone seeking to build. From Amy. Amy, appreciate the review. Guys, make sure you leave us a review on iTunes. And if you want to help shape this podcast, we have a Survey Monkey. The link is on our Instagram, @modern_craftsman. But you guys know where to find us, and we will see you guys next week. And next week we actually have Kevin Craddock coming up.
He's local to you, right?
Yeah, local Boston builder. Actually had the opportunity to get catch up with him last week and chat about employees and stuff like that. So I think it would be a nice follow-up to this conversation today. This podcast is brought to you by Duration Moulding and Millwork. As we all know, there are quite a few availability and inflationary cost issues out there right now with building-related materials. Not so with Duration. Not only are the prices of Duration standard products not taking a price increase, but lead times and production times remain excellent. Duration stocks 6 beveled siding profiles, 25 common molding profiles, and 4 profiles of tongue and groove nickel gap siding. Nearly 200 additional molding profiles can be fabricated within 3 to 5 days, and custom molding profiles are generally completed within 2 weeks. When you're looking for high-performance product with exacting details, Duration is the way to go. To learn more about Duration polyash products, please visit their all-new website, durationmillwork.com.
It's a pretty good turnaround on custom molding profiles.
That's fast.
Yeah. That's nice.
I'm reading this, and I'm like, man, is it going to say weeks? And it said days.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's
and they're local to me.
There you go.
Maybe even faster.
Yeah.